shoots, top shelf, he scores! The Oilers kept it with the overtime winner!
The Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440.
Pretty good contact here as he hits it to deep right, and he's hit it out. Now that's a birthday present that George Springer just gave himself. The Blue Jays have the early lead.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
Now swinging it to the outside. Was it caught? Yes! McLaurin! Touchdown!
All right, don't stop the dancing. One more time, we're gonna celebrate. Oh yeah, all right, don't stop the dancing. One more time, we're gonna celebrate. Oh yeah, one more time.
Welcome to the Thursday edition of the Jason Gregor Show, live on Sports 1440 and Oilers Nation YouTube. Good afternoon. Hope you're having an awesome day. Big Thursday nighter to discuss on the show. Edmonton Oilers get a preseason victory. They're not going to go winless in the preseason. All the angst can calm down. Not that there was much. Obviously, I'm kidding. But Oilers, hey, 2-1 games on home ice so far in the preseason. Now, they have been working more in the defensive zone, and they will be spending more time in the next 10 days in the offensive zone. But let's be real. We all know the offensive zone isn't much of an issue. Led the NHL in scoring last year. I think they'll be fine offensively. I also would like to reiterate that just because the Oilers want to play better defense doesn't mean it's going to sacrifice offense. I have lots of numbers to back that up. So, we'll get into it on the show today. As always, Gregor Show is presented by our title sponsor, PlayAlberta.ca, where you can experience all the excitement of the casino on your desktop or mobile device at PlayAlberta.ca. Sign up today as a new player, and you will receive a $50 welcome bonus using the promo code SPORTS50. Try it out. Good luck. Stay within your limits. Packers-Lions tonight. Is Gibbs going to break out at some point? We'll see. We shall see. On the show today, we're going to hear from Leon Draisaitl, the associate captain of the Edmonton Oilers. Also, hear from Stuart Skinner, who was solid last night, despite not seeing much rubber early on. It's a good thing he didn't play half a game last night. He would have seen like 3 shots, which wouldn't have been ideal. So they go the full 60 minutes. And Jack Campbell will start on Friday in Calgary. And considering Stuart Skinner said he'd like 3 starts after Friday, there's 4 games left. So Skinner said he'd like to get 3 starts. So that means 2 more for him. I would assume Jack Campbell would probably like 3. So 2 more for him after Friday, which means we'll probably see Campbell on Friday, Skinner Saturday in Vancouver, Campbell Monday. Although, here's the thing. Yeah, you can go Campbell Monday against Seattle. Then you can go Skinner against Calgary. And then Campbell against Seattle. Or they might switch it and have Campbell potentially get the Monday, Wednesday. So Stuart Skinner plays on the Friday. And then, of course, we'll have 4 days off, 5 days off until they kick off the season opener against the Vancouver Canucks. Now, maybe the coaching staff has a different number of games, but considering they had the conversation with the goalies about 60-minute starts, you remember that, there was times where you'd start 30 minutes or 40 and guys would change out. And Jay Woodcroft said last night was a prime example. Had they taken Stuart Skinner out because they said you're only playing 40 minutes, he would have had, at 40 minutes, he would have made 10 saves. 10 shots. Like, yippee. That's not enough. Guys want to feel the puck. As Stuart Skinner said, there was a few times where his heart rate got up a little bit. Even for goaltenders, you have to get yourself into game condition and game situations, and that happened last night. We could talk about some players like, hey, the Oilers, it's pretty obvious who's in competition here. We know it. It's going to be a forward for the final forward spot. And the competition comes down to Desharnais and Broberg, I would think, as far as who's going to be the number 6/7. Now, maybe they go with 7. We'll find out. And they go 11-7 sometimes. They're only going to start with a 21-man roster unless there's a significant injury between now and first day of the regular season. Otherwise, it's a 21-man roster. Now, an injury update for you. Ryan McLeod, Matthias Ekholm are both trending in the right direction and are both expected to get into 1 or 2 preseason games. So they're not going to play Friday or Saturday. Maybe they're ready next Monday, one of them. If not, next Wednesday and Friday. And you know what? Doesn't seem to be a whole bunch of concern around the injuries or the fact that if they just play 1 or 2 preseason games, they should be fine. Raphael Lavoie, according to Jay Woodcroft, heck, he might. It sounds like you're going to see Lavoie play Friday and Saturday, which makes sense. Why not? You know, give him the guy the opportunity to showcase what he can do. That's what you're going to do with Sutter. You're doing it with Peterson. You're probably going to do it with Ernie and see where they go. And, you know, may the best player win. I think Lavoie had a decent first game. Like, none of them have stood out like, oh my goodness, dominant, but also none have stood out like, oh my goodness, they didn't look very good. So it's a good competition, but as you get down now, really, there's 5 preseason games left. What's Lavoie going to play? 4 of them, maybe? Jay Woodcroft hinted he might get into 6 preseason games, which means he'd have to play the last 5. But, you know, he said 4 or 5 for sure. So, you know, that means he's playing at least 3 of the final 5 because he's only played 1 thus far. So, for all those wondering about Raphael Lavoie and how much opportunity he's going to get, well, he'll get some. And remember, he's going to get it in the bottom 6 role because we got texts coming in already in our Jiffy Lube inbox. 833-401-1440. You know, Raphael Lavoie needs more of an opportunity from Greg. Well, Greg, in what sense? He's not going to play a top 6 role in Edmonton. So why would you put him with McDavid or Draisaitl? Right? He's not playing ahead of Brown or Hyman. He's just not. So why would you put him there? Put him in a situation. Let's see how he handles playing 11 minutes a night, 10 minutes a night, 9 minutes a night sometimes. Because that's just the job. That's the role. It's hard, but that's what it is. So put him in a position that he's comfortable and he can show you, this is what I can do in this role. And he starts there. And if he keeps playing well, then maybe he'll move to the third line. Keep playing well. You never know. Maybe you're in the top 6, but that's how it goes. Like there's a laundry list of guys that have done that on competitive teams. Right. And I think Oilers fans, maybe, you know, they forget because it's been so long that you've had to work your way up the lineup. Look at Sean Horkoff. Sean Horkoff became a number 1 center in Edmonton. He didn't start as one. He wasn't gifted top 6 minutes. He was playing on the 4th line. And then just slowly improved. Todd Marchand, same thing. Now, he never got to a top center position slot, right? But his ice time and his role increased over time. And when you have a competitive, good organization, that's how it should be, both offensively and defensively. So that's how I see it. On the show today, we will hear from Bronte. Terry Ryan is in. We will have a LA Chargers wide receiver, Josh Palmer. To use the old quote, knock, knock. What's that? Opportunity knocks with Mike Williams going down. So Josh Palmer should be a guy that maybe you've claimed him on the waiver wire. We'll find out from him. And, you know, we'll get a little bit in depth on Justin Herbert and, you know, what makes him tick as a quarterback. Mike Commodore, former NHLer, will join us. Speaking of Commodore, because obviously he, you know, when you think of Mike Commodore, a lot of people think of Mike Babcock because Commodore, and by the way, there might be a few people who never believed Commodore that might be like, maybe he was onto something. But I don't know, Connor, if you have seen it, and I got to get the name of the guy who made it, but have you seen those Mike Babcock memes? It's not really a meme. It's like somebody put it together where it's like a press conference and it's Babcock, but it's his voice, but it's not him, of course. It's like a mock press conference and just how he acts. Oh my goodness. It is funny.
Yeah. The real Joey Mayo.
The real
on Instagram.
Joey Mayo. Oh,
Sean Brown sent us that. I couldn't believe how much it looks like him. I thought it was Babcock.
Yeah, no, it's not. I don't think it looks way older and wrinkled and everything like that. But man, I'll put it up on my my Instagram. We might even play it on the show. Oh my goodness, I laughed. Like,
just the mannerisms, though. Like, he nailed it.
Like the mannerisms and all just the little inside things, like the opening one. Yeah, Dregs, like that was funny. Conroy, the reporter, asking him was funny. You know what? How he drank from the water bottle was like identical. That was one, like the attention to detail in this was quite good. So, we'll talk about Mike, and and I respect Mike Commodore because people didn't want, it's funny. Be like, well, he can't be that bad. Are you sure? The guy was trying to tell you from his own experience and from lots of other people that this is who he was and how he treated people. And people didn't want to believe it. Why? Because sometimes Commodore was pretty harsh in it. Well, was he wrong? No. Now, you might, if you want to disagree with how he went about it, that's fine, but that doesn't discount what he said. And I think we have to learn that sometimes. So, but we will talk other things with Mike Commodore. Also, Speck will be by. Go racing with Livingston in the 5 o'clock hour today. Bronte will be by. Bob Nightingale. Oh, my goodness, Jace. You're taking on the New York Yankees, who are out of the playoffs. They got nothing to play for. And you have 2 games now where you haven't scored a run. Not one. Come on, man. So we will see. And now they take on the Yankees again tonight. And you look at the standings, like we said at the start, they were lucky because everybody that they're battling is kind of playing each other in Houston and Texas and Seattle. And now the Jays, they're 87-71. Seattle is a game and a half behind them. Houston is a half game back. So now the Jays do have 1 game in hand on Houston. Meanwhile, no, they're 2 back. Sorry, Seattle's 2 back at Toronto. They lost again, so my bad. But they're lucky because I think, Connor, was it you who said technically the Jays could lose all their games this week and still make the playoffs because those teams were playing each other. So every night there was somebody that wasn't gaining ground on them. So that's kind of remarkable when you think about it. So, but hey, offense. Hello. Bueller. Blue Jays. Bueller. Hello. Offense. Paging the offense. It's a rather important time. Now, I know, hey, Garrett Cole's on fire as of late. I understand it. But still, got to find a way to get some runs, man. Just like they're in a hitter's park. So we'll see what happens for the Blue Jays tonight. Bob Nightingale will talk about that. And really, you know what? Some good races in the major leagues of baseball in both the AL and the NL. Right now, the Cubbies and Miami are tied for the final wild card spot. They have 4 games left. It's coming down right to the wire, man. Cubbies taking on Atlanta again tonight. Miami's got the Mets. So it's going to be entertaining down the stretch. Be very entertaining. Look forward to it. Now, I do want to get to I wanted you to listen to Jay Woodcroft here right away, because here was Jay Woodcroft on Raphael Lavoie. When I asked him, hey, Raphael, everybody knows kind of the situation that Lavoie's in, right? We know what he did last year, everything like that. And just asked Woodcroft about the fact that Lavoie said, hey, I'm not coming here to be a top 6 guy. I got to start in the bottom 6. And what's he seen from him? So here's Woodcroft discussing Lavoie.
Jay, a guy like Raphael Lavoie obviously finished the season very strong last year. He comes in, everybody knows his contract situation.
Yep.
He had a solid first game, but there's only limited games. And he talked openly. He knows I'm not a top 6 player here. I got to start in the bottom. So have you seen him doing what you would want from a bottom 6 player?
Well, he's only played in 1 game. I thought he showed lots of good things in that game. There were some growth areas or growth moments as well. For me, he did what he had to do last year, which was improve and put himself into the conversation. I like hearing you say that because that reflects a certain level of self-awareness on his part in terms of what the position available here is. I would expect to see him in about 4 or 5, maybe 6 exhibition games here. So he's going to get every opportunity. He's had a good camp thus far. He'll be in the lineup tomorrow night. We're going into a tough building. I'm looking forward to seeing how Raphael Lavoie helps our team win a game in Calgary tomorrow night.
So 4 or 5, maybe 6, which I don't know, could he play all 5? I'll say this. If he plays really well Friday and Saturday, because I kind of get a sense he might go back to back Friday and Saturday, because look, the Oilers are going to play in Calgary on Friday, and then they fly back after the game. And before they leave for Vancouver on Saturday, there's going to be a significant amount of cuts. And, you can, it's pretty easy if you're watching practice today. You can see, the top 6 guys are out there. Obviously, Sutter and Peterson were out there. You had Ernie, Brad Malone was out in the main group. Ryan, Janmark, Holloway, Lavoie. Those are the guys out there, right? Fogle, of course. So on the back end, Gleason and Niemelainen, I don't think they're going to make the team. But if you look at kind of the pecking order of where the organization views them, those guys are probably, 8 and 9 right now as far as the depth chart on the blue line. And Raphael Lavoie, hey, get noticed, kid. Play well, and there could be an opportunity for you. It's tough, no question. Brandon Sutter's a veteran fourth-line center. They kind of need a fourth-line center. I think Lavoie has to play lights out. Now, Derek Ryan is likely going to play a game at center here just to kind of see. But again, it's one game. And Raphael, in order for Raphael Lavoie to play, I think he has to play so well that they look and say, hey, we're going to put him on the right wing, and we're going to move Derek Ryan to center. And we still think that that's better because we like Lavoie that much than keeping Ryan on the right wing and playing Brandon Sutter or Lane Peterson. It's just how it is. So, and it's no different really for Adam Ernie. Adam Ernie A's got to earn a contract, and then plays so well that they think, you know what, we'll move Derek Ryan to the middle, so Ernie can play left wing on our fourth line. I'm not sold on that. So, hey Gregor, why can't Lavoie play in the top 6? Who has guaranteed Hyman a spot? Maybe Lavoie can score more than Hyman. What's wrong with dedicating one preseason game to finding out? Sam from Vancouver. Sam, my man, step away from the bong. Zach Hyman had 83 points last year. Why wouldn't he be guaranteed a spot in your top 6? What are you talking about? The guy, since coming to Edmonton, both years just keeps improving on his career totals. And you want to take Raphael Lavoie because you're like, well, maybe he'll score. You think he's going to score more than Zach Hyman did last year? Seriously? No. That's just not realistic. Right? Put Lavoie in a spot that he's going to play in the regular season. I don't care if Lavoie plays well one game in the preseason with Draisaitl and McDavid. I'm not going into the start of the regular season saying, geez, we really like Raphael Lavoie in that preseason game. That's about 65 to 70% of the pace of a regular season game against 70% rosters. And now we're going to move Zach Hyman out of our top 6. There's no chance, man. None. Zilch. Zero. It's not happening, nor should it. He get ripped apart. Zach Hyman's beloved in the lineup. The guy's motor never stops. 100% all the time. And you don't think he's guaranteed a top 6 spot? Nope. When we come back, hey, the Jays aren't guaranteed a playoff spot. The odds are very good. But who do you like in the NL? And more importantly, how much will injuries factor in when the baseball playoffs begin next week? We will find out with one of the legendary longtime baseball reporters on the Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
Legacy Heating and Cooling is the #1 place for people who want heating
2:25. Welcome back, Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440 and live on Oilers Nation YouTube. Appreciate you watching the show, listening, streaming, wherever you're at. We appreciate it. You can always text us in our Jiffy Lube inbox, 833-401-1440. Also, that's our phone number. It's a multi-purpose line. So we'll have some phone calls in the coming days. We get definitely next week when you have some prediction times. It's a lot of fun. But if you ever want to get in, phone number is the same as the text line, 833-401-1440. Nice. Can multitask with it. Let's get to the MLB report, brought to you by Legacy Heating and Cooling. Home loan, no payments, no interest for 1 year on your AC or furnace. Stay warm all winter or cool all summer. LegacyHeating.ca. And we are joined by a longtime MLB writer. And you know what? It's always a thrill to have him on the show. Bob Nightingale joins us from USA Today. And Bob, hey, baseball, you can't script it much better when you have playoff races coming right down to the wire this season in both the NL and the AL. The NL, of course, can't get any closer with Chicago and Miami tied with 4 games remaining. And then you have Seattle and Houston. Now, Seattle's kind of got to pick up their socks here a little bit, game and a half back. And they didn't get the results they wanted against Houston, and now they're taking on Texas, which probably isn't going to make things any easier. But I guess let's start in the NL, Bob. And the Cubbies, who a few weeks ago we thought they'd coast into the playoffs, they kind of stubbed their toe. But do you still like the Cubs more, or the fact that, you know, now they've lost 2 again and Miami's right back in? Like, who do you like here with 4 games to go?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the Phillies got the 4th spot. I still like the Diamondbacks. Like, you know, they just lost to Chicago for the 5th spot, and probably the Cubs over the Marlins. And then the Cubs, if the Marlins win out, it's theirs. But kind of favor the Cubs. Be interesting because, you know, Milwaukee kind of controls their fate, because Milwaukee's going to face the number 6 seed. So if they want the Cubs in, they'll lose the Cubs. If they want the Cubs out, they'll go lights out and face the Marlins first round.
You know, that's an interesting concept, because I know people have always said we should have playoffs where the top seed gets to pick their opponent. And I'm like, okay, but, you know, maybe it would work. Sure, it would lead to a lot more. It'd be easy for scribes and everybody and radio hosts to talk about things. Hey, look who they picked, man. And the other team could really root for it. But like, if you're Milwaukee, do you think it matters who you play? Like, do you see them having a better matchup against the Cubbies or Miami?
I would probably want to face the Miami, just in the sense they really only have 2 healthy starters. Noel, St. Alcantara. The Cubs do have Justin Steele. The one thing the Cubs have too is so close to Milwaukee. They'll have half that crowd full of Cubs fans. That being said, I think Milwaukee's better than either team and should win it. But you prefer all your fans to be there instead of that 50-50 thing with the Cubs.
Yeah, no, that's fair. In the Toronto, I guess, is kind of who we thought they were. They have a stinker, and then they go on a run for a bit, and now they come home. They're facing the Yankees. Now, I know that Garrett Cole's been really good, so last night I can kind of get it. But, 2 games in a row, you don't even score a run. It's like the worst possible time for your team, no question about it. Like, are the Jays a team that even if they get in, like, would they have a chance against Tampa Bay, considering all the injuries Tampa has?
Oh, absolutely. I think the Jays, talent-wise, got as much talent as anybody in the American League. So I think the Jays have a realistic shot to get to the World Series. I think the American League is that wide open. There's not a juggernaut, American League like Atlanta or even, Dodgers for that matter. So, no, I think they definitely have a shot.
And you mentioned how Milwaukee has a sense. The Jays, in theory, control who they play as well. If they want to, they look and say, okay, if Seattle keeps losing, if we wanted to, we could finish 6th and face Minnesota instead of beating Tampa Bay and then facing them in the first round, right? Like, you don't want to lose on purpose just so you might finish 6th, because you might end up missing the playoffs if you're the Blue Jays. But, based on record, Minnesota seems like a touch easier of a matchup. But do you think on paper, like when you look at their starting pitching, and considering the injuries Tampa has, I'd still want to play Tampa in the first round, wouldn't I?
I would. You look at Minnesota; they got a pretty good starting pitching.
Yeah.
With the way Lopez is pitching, Sonny Gray, they're more. I think they're more dangerous than people think. So I think I'd rather face Tampa. Obviously, they've seen them a lot, everything else. So I think the Twins are sneaky good.
Bob Nightingale joins us. You mentioned the Braves, and they have been exceptional all season long. As soon as having one of the greatest seasons we've ever seen in major leagues of baseball. But, they got 102 wins. Baltimore has 99 wins, Bob. And I think Baltimore, really good chance they're going to win 100 games. I don't know if there was anybody at the start of the season that thought the Baltimore Orioles were going to win 100 games. A lot of people thought they'd be improved. I don't think many thought they'd win the division, never mind the entire AL. Are you a believer in the Orioles, or come playoff time, is there still concern just because lack of experience?
Yeah, lack of experience, and I don't think they have the lights out pitching. It certainly hurts them without having Bautista. I know they're going to try to see if he can go in the playoffs. Maybe he can, but he hasn't pitched in a month as their closer. So yeah, the lack of experience worries you. They kind of remind me a lot of the Houston Astros when they came up in 2015. Surprised everybody, and then they had this great run where I think that's what's going to happen to the to the Orioles, where if they don't get to a World Series this year, I think they'll be favored in the AL East for years to come.
Overall, Bob, and you've been around the league a long time, when you look at all the changes that baseball made, and these are significant changes when you considering, DH in the NL, and you consider, bigger bases and, the pitch clock, and, or not banning, but limiting the switch. Like those are significant changes for a sport that didn't love making changes. And I think, and I'm not inside of it, you obviously covered for a living, it seems like it's worked great. Has it worked better than you thought? And has the feedback from those you talk to, managers, players, GMs, is the game way better than maybe even some of them thought it would be when these changes were implemented?
I think it's a situation where at least the stolen bases, that makes the game a lot more exciting. To see how Ron Acuna still 70 bases. We had gone away from stolen bases almost station to station. So that's made the game a lot of fun. Obviously having 25 minutes off the games and made the games a quicker pace and everything else. And there really hasn't been much complaints about it. The shifts really haven't made much of a difference. The batting average, hasn't really risen to, I think, what they had hoped. But yeah, I think it's a better game, and hopefully in the playoffs there's not some big play decided by the pitch clock. I think everybody's hoping for that.
Well, the pitch clock, and you wonder, I don't know how much that had to do with Alex Manoah. I have no idea. But man, it's been a significant disappointing season for him. The fact that he's not even pitching anymore, like it was very strange, that whole scenario. Any insight, Bob, on what happens there? Do they kiss and make up, or is Manoah going to be in a different organization next year?
Well, I think he's got to get back in the Blue Jays organization just because how much trade value does it have?
Yeah, fair point.
Trade value just plummeted, so you can't just give him away. And I think teams are saying, well, who's a real Manoah? So we'll see what happens in spring training. I don't think any team would trade for him unless they saw him pitch in spring training to see how he looks. But I would think they kiss and make up.
Okay. Yeah, you're probably right. Obviously, the trade value factors for sure for the Jays, because they'd be, it's a no-win situation. You're not going to get anything of trade value, and then if he goes somewhere and is the pitcher that people thought he'd be, well, then you end up looking like an idiot because you traded him away for nothing. So I'll be curious to see how that one unfolds. Looking at a few other teams as we enter the the postseason, and we've talked about Atlanta. This is, excluding the playoffs, the upcoming offseason with Shohei Ohtani. And I know that he's coming off surgery, so he's not going to pitch next year. So it might impact his free agency because he's already said he's not going to pitch. So his value somewhat goes down because he's not going to be the dominant pitcher and the dominant hitter that he has been for the last few years. But what type of numbers you think you're going to see from Ohtani? And do you think there's a chance it might just be a short-term deal because a team might not pay him what he thinks he's worth when he's both healthy to pitch and be a hitter?
I think he'll get a guarantee of at least $430 million. Up to $500 million.
What?
And probably be some incentives in that contract. Okay. When he starts pitching in 2025, you pitch so many innings, you'll get X amount of money.
Okay.
Or, how many starts, that sort of thing. So, and it's not about money to this guy. It's not like he makes $40 million off a field, which is by far the greatest in baseball history. He just wants to be comfortable. I think he stays out west. I'd be stunned if he leaves, especially if you want to pitch. You don't want rain delays, rain outs, that sort of thing. So if you can get the best weather, you want to stay on the West Coast. So I think he stays in either LA or Anaheim. I'm not going to rule out San Francisco, but I think the Dodgers are the heavy favorite.
Yeah, as I was going to ask you. So it's the Dodgers. What about the Yankees? Because, man, for years, the Yankees, when they had George around, they never lost out on a big-name guy. There seems to be a little bit of a difference in the organization, or maybe how that's perceived. I don't know. But what do you make of the Yankees offseason and what they have to do to be competitive again next year?
Yeah, Yankees have a lot of work to do. There are a couple GMs that told me this spring they didn't think the Yankees would make the playoffs. It turns out they were right. They used to like the talent level. I don't think Ohtani would go there just because he's pretty much a homebody. Excuse me. He never goes out. And even when the Angels were in New York last month, he says he's never left his hotel room except to go to the ballpark. So I think they'll be aggressive in the free agent market. Maybe a Blake Snell, maybe a Cody Bellinger, that sort of thing. But I don't see Ohtani going there. And they got to be careful. Same with the Red Sox, just because of the way Baltimore's coming on. Blue Jays have all the young talent too, and the Rays are always winning. So, I don't see any way they'll be the favorites going to the year.
No, not at all. Bob, for fun, which team misses in the NL and which team misses in the AL here in the next 4 or 5 days?
Well, I think Seattle misses in the AL. I think that was a big for Houston to beat them 2 out of 3 in Seattle. They're on the outside looking in right now. So I think they miss out. They had a great August, but they just kind of hit a wall in September. So I don't see them making it. And coin flip between Miami and the Cubs.
Well, there you go. Hope Bob's doing all right. That was Bob Nightingale from USA Today. The Jays, he thinks, are in Seattle. That was a tough series. They probably had to sweep it or at least win 2 out of 3, and they ended up only winning 1 out of 3. So good news for Jays fans. Bad news for Brad and all of the Mariners fans. When we come back, Ruben Bronte will join us. We'll talk about the depth on the blue line of the Edmonton Oilers, as well as why many are mistaken when they claim that the Oilers improving their defense means they have to suffer offensively. There's actual data that tells you that's not the case. We'll discuss it next on the Jason Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
Ain't it beautiful? What does excellence mean to you, and how does it impact your decisions? Friends, it's Carrie Dahl, and I know that at Volvo Cars Edmonton, excellence isn't an option. It's their every
Portions of this hour brought to you by Cantork. We've continued developing tools and are excited to announce our newest design and battery-powered nut runners. 4 models from 500 to 3,000 foot-pounds with more on the way. Learn more at cantork.com.
Sports Radio is back. The Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
You wanna be starting something, you got to be starting something, but you how to get over, get too lost to get under, you're stuck in the middle, how to get over, get too lost to get under.
Jason Gregor, Connor Halley with you as we roll through. I want to get to this text. Hey guys, just curious, do you think Romano's overrated? Last year, wild card game, the other night, 9th inning, doesn't seem to shine in the big moments. Small sample size, but how many do you get in MLB playoffs? With the implications from Randy. Well, I look at this season, Randy, and he's had 4 blown saves out of 40 save opportunities. And if you look at all the regular closers, I think the fewest blown saves amongst the guys who start, who have had at least, 30 or so save opportunities, we're talking like 3. Alex Diaz is 37 out of 40. Same with David Bednar. So I'm trying to think of another guy who's closer. Most guys have 5 or 6 or 4. So I don't know. Like if you only look at 1 or 2 games, would you like him to get it? Sure. But I think the other one, had they taken him out, like he just didn't have it for whatever reason, didn't have it that day. They still could have won the game. Well, maybe they wouldn't have won the game, but I could have made the argument. I thought there was a case where the manager, you're like, hey, man, our closer who's been great. And I understand his one theory is like, hey, he's the guy who's been there with us. We got to give him the opportunity. Sure. But sometimes the tough decision is the right decision. Say, guess what, man, you're unreal, but you don't have it today. So we're going to go with someone else. Done. So, yeah, I don't think I could say he's overrated. Like, I don't think anybody's said, man, Romano's the best closer in the game. He's not Mariano Rivera, but he's pretty solid. I think he's pretty solid. What do you think, Cons? I don't really have much of an issue with him.
No, I mean, there's other circumstances that have gone into some of those blown losses for sure, or blown save opportunities. The wild card game, I mean, or I'm thinking back to last year, defensive miscues certainly stand out in some of those collapses. But
yeah,
he wouldn't be my first complaint when it comes to the Blue Jays. The inconsistency amongst the bats, defensive errors at certain times. Yeah, I mean, sure, he's had a couple of blown saves and a couple of games where you're a little frustrated with how he's been handled, but not the top of my list, I guess. But then again, like you said, we don't look at him and say, this guy's always going to be Mr. Automatic. He's not Hoffman or Rivera, right?
Yeah. No. Wow. And hey, even those guys blew a few saves, but not many. They were pretty good. Let's get to the oil report now, brought to you by Volvo of Edmonton, where you can stop in right now, get a great deal, whether you want a new vehicle, a demo, or a pre-owned Volvo. 1.49% financing. Stop in. We want the S60, the car. I'm driving one right now. It's unreal. Highly recommend the XC90 for the SUV. I'm getting one because coaching season's here for minor hockey, and I got a lot of coaching stuff. I need a little bit more space, so looking to get one. Love it. VolvoEdmonton.com. As we welcome in Ruben Bronte, who joins us every Monday and Thursday, sporting the Edmonton Trappers jersey today. It's old school, Rubes. I like it. It's pretty nice. I can tell because he joins us on our YouTube page at Oilers Nation. I guess let's start with the Oilers depth chart on the blue line. We all know that right now you've got Broberg and you've got Desharnais, and they're kind of battling out to see maybe who's going to play with Ekholm. We'll see when Ekholm gets back in if they keep the Kulak and CC pairing together or not on October 11th for opening night. But after that, and the Oilers were extremely healthy last year on the blue line, and hopefully they are again. But if not, history tells us eventually your number 8 and your number 9 D-men are going to see some time. They got Niemelainen. It was interesting. I don't know if you heard Jay Woodcroft today. At the end of the year, they said to Marcus Niemelainen, like, in the minors, we see your physicality. We didn't see it in the NHL. That's kind of your calling card. And last night was his first game. Niemelainen, he went out of his way to be physical as much as he could last night.
Yeah, it's funny. At the start of last season, I think a lot of people were talking about this big aggressive Finn who was making some noise on the blue line. And, I thought he was on his way, frankly, at that point. You jump ahead a year and now he's not top of mind with everybody else. When you think of the first six or the first seven, when you're talking the 7-hole, we've been talking about Desharnais or Broberg. Not that you play Broberg in the 7th hole, but if you're carrying 7D, I haven't heard Niemelainen's name very often. Certainly haven't heard Kemp either. Yet these guys, they were all in last night. There was no place to hide. Now, Vancouver was not dressing a lineup that is going to scare a lot of people, but the fact is they all played, and I thought they were all fine, and they're completely different players, their style. I love Niemelainen. He's a big, aggressive guy. He is, the difference between him and Desharnais, maybe natural meanness. Desharnais's maybe got that chip on his shoulder where he kind of likes it. But big Niemelainen, I tell you what, that's a nice option to have if you want a guy who's going to hit some bodies and raise some hell, because, and you've talked about it, Jason, you need different aspects on your defense. You can't have everybody the same. You can't have everybody as a puck mover, and you can't have a bunch of bangers that beat the puck square. You need that mix, and Niemelainen's a guy, we know what he'll bring if he gets a chance to play.
What do you think of Gleason?
You know what? I thought he was okay, Jason. What I like is, he's here on a 1-year deal. He's got 5 seasons down in Texas, so he's been playing, a good level of pro hockey. I guess he's going to have to grow on me a bit. He's not, he's not one of those guys that grabs you with the way he plays. He was mostly paired with Desharnais, was he not? And I've been sort of looking at Desharnais. The guy that interests me really is Kemp. Guys who look at him talk about a guy who's overlooked a little bit, who's steady, who's old school in that defense first. He's not going to grab you by the collar and shake you up, and nobody's going to go, holy cow, who's this guy? But if you can defend, that still matters when you're standing on the blue line. And I like the looks of him. I don't think there's room for more than one of them at the outside, at least to start the year. But as we've talked about, the Oilers were very healthy last year. And I think you'd be, hoping against hope that they can stay that healthy this year. What you mentioned earlier, and so did I, 82, 80 for Ceci, 78 for Ekholm between Nashville and Edmonton. You're not going to get that kind of health from those 5 guys who play that many minutes. At least I'd be surprised. So you need somebody else other than Desharnais and Broberg who's going to try and get his feet wet when you're in the middle of February still trying to win hockey games. And that's where the Niemelainen and Kemp, guys like that, come in handy.
Robin Brownlee joins us from OilersNation.com. Kemp's the one guy who's he's a solid defender. Gleason obviously has the best puck poise of the 3, no question. But, Phil Kemp's that guy that I think could fill in a third pair defense role if you need it for a short period of time. And, does he have the foot speed? That's really what's holding him back from being an NHL defenseman at this point, is his foot speed. He thinks the game incredibly well. He's very good at defending. But when you get to the NHL speed, how would he handle that? That's probably the question for him. You move up front. Jay Woodcroft, when I asked him about Lavoie, he was very open and honest about what he sees and where he sees him fitting in. Obviously, and even Lavoie himself said, he goes, hey, I know if I'm making this team, it's in a bottom 6 role. That's obvious. So, you got to play that style. Jay hinted that, we might see Lavoie in all 5 remaining games. I think that might be a stretch, but at least 3 and definitely a good chance for 4. So they're going to give him an opportunity. We saw Sutter and Lane Peterson last night. I thought Brandon Sutter did all the things you want from your fourth line center. Right. Wasn't flashy per se, but on the penalty kill, I thought he was fairly noticeable. That's a good thing. And that might be the one difference. Raphael Lavoie doesn't get penalty kill time. So how's he going to get in the flow of things? Right. That's going to be his challenge. Like, he's going to have to knock the doors off here in the remaining preseason games. Otherwise, I think he's in tough just because of usage.
Yeah, that's assuming they don't take Zach Hyman out of the top 6 to fit Lavoie. I was looking in when you read that one. I don't think so. You know what I like about Lavoie? We've talked about his size. We've talked about his shot. I think he knows that he's got to get after it in terms of a physical sense. We've seen that a little bit. What I like most is Woodcroft talking about, perhaps the possibility of how much he plays him. I'm not losing a big, strong kid with some nice hands without having a long look, and I'm not going to risk losing him on waivers until I know what I've got. So of those 5 games, 3 at the minimum. I'd try 4. Although you do want to look at pretty much your set lineup in the last couple. At least most coaches do. But let's see what's there. And the other thing too, Jason, the deeper you go where you give him reps, you're going against better lineups and you're getting a better read on what he can actually do instead of playing against lineups with 5 NHL guys or 6 NHL guys. So I want to see what he can do. 25 goals last year in the AHL is nothing to sniff at. That was top 30, and he didn't play all the games. So, if you're going to risk losing him through waivers, take a long look and know what you're either keeping and know what you're giving up. What is the harm in keeping him here through most of the preseason before you make a decision? What, somebody else, an older pro, is going to get pissed off about not playing? Let's have a look at the kid and see what he can do.
Yeah. I understand that he scored well in the AHL. I always like to remind people, Tyler Benson had a 60-plus point season in the American.
Yeah.
Anton Lander he was a point-a-game player in the American League.
Yep. Came
up to the NHL? No. So, it's great that he scored the 25 goals and he had an excellent second half of the season. But I just like to remind people that it's a massive jump, especially because he goes from playing on the power play and everything else to now playing in a third and fourth line role that's infinitely different.
Well, and Jason, no disagreement here. I've seen it 100 times over the years. I've seen guys, the years I spent covering the Blazers and Kamloops, watching guys transition up from the guys who were scorers in the dub. Now, okay, let's see if you can do it in the minor pros, and then the NHL's another big step up. But let's see it now. If he can't do it, that's fine. The other thing that's going to cause him to do, Jason, is, well, he can't abandon what got him there. He's got to say, okay, how can I fit in what I do best with a role that I can play and a position that I can play for this team here and now? So do I have to grind some more than I'm used to? If that's what it takes, okay, that's what I'm going to do. If I have to be more physical than I have been in the past, because sometimes I'm hunting pucks and trying to score goals in the American Hockey League where it's easier to do it, you have to shift. We've seen way bigger scorers than Raphael Lavoie have to turn into third and fourth line checkers, and that's okay, but it gets you a sniff. And we've seen guys come up here who had scored some pretty good points, came in as checkers on fourth, third line. Sean Horkoff was a fourth liner when he came in here. Not comparing the two, totally different players, but guys come in with one ticket that gets them the look, and sometimes the ticket that keeps them there is completely different.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's what Lavoie is going to have to do, at least for the first year or two of his career. That's just,
Yep.
unless Sam is coaching the Oilers, then he'll get a shot in the top six because Zach Hyman's not proven. But and then that's obviously being a little facetious. So we will see how that goes. One last one for you, Rubes. I know you're wearing your Trappers jersey. So are you at all concerned about the Jays, or do they just, they kind of like, hey, I know that Garrett Cole's been unreal as of late. So, but, sometimes you got to tip your hat to the opposing pitcher. But are you concerned at all about the Jekyll and Hyde of the Jays offense?
Yeah, I am. The only, you can talk to whether it's a coach in football or hockey or basketball or a manager in baseball. The one thing they'll tell you is what they want to know most is not how great we can be top end. What's our floor? What's our ceiling? They want to know what they're going to get every day, and what you're getting is the proverbial box of chocolates right now from this club. Play a certain way, play within certain bounds. Don't have huge differences between your best and your worst. Be boring and be consistent. That's what managers want when they're making lineup decisions. Defensively for their position players, offensively for their batting order, and you don't know what you're going to get right now. And a couple of their best hitters have been so on again, off again, that how do you know what you're going to get?
Rubes, have a good one. We will chat with you next week.
Okay, Jason. See you.
That's Robin Brownlee, a.k.a. Ruben Bronte from OilersNation.com. Joins us every Monday and Thursday. Let's get to Connor Halley when we return. Terry Ryan will join us. Ooh, it's on the eve of a big day for TR. What's he going to show up in today? We will find out after a Sports 1440 update brought to you by BIE Engineering. Specialize in all your residential, commercial, and industrial structural engineering needs. Go to BIEENG.com.
This is a Sports 1440 update.
Week 2 in the NFL kicks off tonight as the Green Bay Packers hosting the Detroit Lions. Kick off 6:15. You can watch that one with our very own Brandon Douglas down at the Lewis Estates Canadian Brew House. Jays back in action tonight. Look at a score run as they take on the Yankees once again. First pitch set for 5:07. Elsewhere around the majors, the Royals taking on the Tigers right now. Bottom of the 7th, KC up 3-0. And the Brewers have a 2-0 lead over the Cards in the 4th. Still to come. Pirates take on the Phillies. The Red Sox up against the Orioles. Mets take on the Marlins. Braves host the Cubbies. The Dodgers in Colorado to take on the Rockies. And one to watch for the Jays fans out there. Mariners hosting the Rangers. Finals from earlier today. The Athletics knocked off the Twins 2-1, and it was the Diamondbacks falling to the White Sox 3-1. Tampa Bay Lightning goaltender Andrei Vasilevsky underwent a successful back surgery today and will miss the first 2 months of the regular season. The 29-year-old played in 60 games last season, posting a record of 34, 22, and 4. On the ice tonight, 6 games in the preseason. The Penguins host the Sabres, Red Wings up against the Caps, Rangers host the Devils, Avs in Minnesota, Blackhawks will take on the Blues, and the Canucks travel down to Seattle to take on the Kraken. The AJHL showcase rolling on today earlier on White Court. Blanks Drumheller 3-0 in the second period. Camrose leads GP 2-1. Later tonight, Bonnyville takes on Drayton Valley, and Lloydminster up against Okotoks. Coming up in hour 2 of the Jason Gregor Show, we'll be joined by our co-host Terry Ryan, and we'll be joined by Los Angeles Chargers wide receiver Joshua Palmer. I'm Connor Halley, and this has been a Sports 1440 update.
This is Sports 1440, a Stingray radio station broadcasting on Treaty 6 territory.
Download the free
Radio is back. The Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
But blue on the streets, loose and clean, and the skies all smoky blue-green. I can't forsake a Dixie ditchy, so we dance the sidewalk clean. My memory is Monday, what's this river that I'm in? If New Orleans is sinking, man, and I don't want to swim. Can I tell what's wrong? What's going on? Can't tell yourself.
Well, a little tragically hip for you. A lovely Thursday afternoon. Never a bad day for some hip. Welcome back. Jason Gregor Show, presented by our title sponsor, PlayAlberta.ca, where all of the revenue stays right here in the province of Alberta at PlayAlberta.ca. Alberta's only regulated online gambling website. I am Jason Gregor. He's Connor Halley. We're coming to you live from the eWell studios. Go to ewel.ca for all your electrical needs. And we welcome to the program our regular Monday and Thursday co-host. He is a first-round selection in the National Hockey League. He's a two-time author. He is an actor. His second season of Shoresy comes out tomorrow. Terry Ryan joins us. TR, how are you?
I'm all right. It comes out, well, technically tomorrow, but 12:01, ladies and gentlemen, tonight.
Nice. So that's 12:01 your time. Is your watch party going to happen right then, or are you going to wait till tomorrow?
Well, Jarrett said 12:01. I assume he means everywhere that it's maybe it's Eastern time. I don't know. I didn't think about that. But they sent me finally today the 6 episodes in advance, so I've seen it. I watched it all this afternoon.
Oh yeah. You binged it. How did
I binged it?
How would you rate your acting this year in Shoresy?
Oh God, my acting is just it's the same. It's I think it's safe to say it's more than 50% just me being me, but it's sufficient. But like I said, it's great for me to connect the dots because we're not in every scene, and there's other stuff going on, and I read it in the script. It's just way different. There's way more context to it. There's a lot of scenes that require very little to no talking that take up 2 to 3 minutes. So there's a way more heart and soul and emotion when you watch it. And now, to see it in sequence in like a linear formula it was awesome. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what people will think. I enjoyed the process.
Now, having gone through both seasons and having seen both seasons, do you like season 2 better than season 1?
Yeah, a lot more.
Okay. Yeah.
It's like, I don't know. Again, it's really, really hard for me to look at this completely objectively being in it. Okay. But I can get closer to it when I see it than when I'm acting in it, because acting in it, we're there. And like I said, it's out of order. It's a little bit of fun. Like no matter what, sometimes I don't care what anybody says. When there's a lot of lines, there's a level of like, I'm remembering this. I hope I'm acting it as well as I'm thinking it, but I'm more remembering to come in at the right time. And when you watch it, you're like, oh, okay, like I didn't realize that, or there's way more context to the scenes watching it, on your own and in order rather than acting in it and reading it for sure.
Yeah, no, that would make sense. I can understand that for sure. That totally makes sense. Terry Ryan joins us. So, DR, we're now into, a few teams. Some guys have played 2, 3 preseason games already. I don't put much stock into the overall result. Ultimately, some people are getting really fired up about Ottawa because they won 2 preseason games against Toronto. So we'll see what happens. But you go back and you've talked about, and by the way, I just saw a scrap with you and Leach on online the other day. Oh my goodness, guys. There's no defense in that fight. I'll tell you that. It was just guys throwing everything they had at it. But, the nerves now that okay, like lots of cuts. And by the way, the Edmonton Oilers just had I should announce this. The Oilers had a massive number of cuts today. They sent back, Tyler Tullio, Jake Chason, Gruby, Carl Berglund, Matvey Petrov, Max Wayner to Bakersfield. And they had some players here who are on AHL only deals that are going back, like DeJong Kambitz, Lyndon Wright, Corkin, Johnson, Gansky, Bernard, Parks, guys who didn't play in any game. So, Wayner got into one game, Tullio got into one game, Gruby, Berloff, and Petrov, they all played one. Chason actually didn't even get into a game. But and Carter Savoy, by the way, he had a little bit of nagging injury. He'll play tomorrow in Calgary. For any of the local people wondering where Carter Savoy is, he was a little nicked up, but he's ready to roll, and he will play tomorrow. But so now, the cuts come. Does the angst, does it get higher, or is it a relief? And you're like, okay, you know what? Hey, I got through the first cut, so I must be doing something right.
That's a great question. I think it just depends on your perspective and your expectations. Like I was mentioning to you, I was going to have a look at that Grube kid, played in Red Deer, I believe. And, he got into a game. I don't think he expected to make the team, right?
Yeah.
Got into an NHL game. We'll go down now. I'm sure they were very clear to these people what they want out of them. I mean, communication is a big thing. They've been around this long. It's a month at a National Hockey League camp. I don't think it can hurt anybody, and I don't think of the people that are sent down so far it's any huge surprise. As a player, I just, at this time of year, just every single day, no matter where, there was more of an idea of what you were going to be doing and what your role was going to be. So it would excite me one way or the other. I mean it. When I was first sent to Fredericton, I really wasn't really that upset. I was like, okay, now I know. I mean, all the upset stuff with the stuff with Michel Therrien that I did, that's all side stuff. I just mean the actual act of being sent to the A. I don't know. I looked at it. There's a lot of my buddies, that I played with in junior, and Boyd Olson and Aaron Asham, David Ling was down there, and all guys that, were Matt Higgins, Brad Brown, other first-round picks I could identify with. We were down there. Not everybody gets sent down with a bunch of other first-round picks. For me, I had Brad Brown the year before me and Matt Higgins the year after me. And up top was Turner Stevenson and Saku Koivu, who were there right before that. So I could always have people to bounce ideas off of. And in an organization like Montreal, same thing with Edmonton, so much history, so many cups, so much winning that, it was good for me to absorb all of that with my teammates. Some people are in different situations. If you're Brandon Sutter, I'm sure it's way different. Who I thought looked okay, but I'm still iffy.
What would you need to see from Sutter?
Well, I think I think I saw one turnover. I just want to make sure that he can keep up with it. I want to see this. I want to see him keep up with the play 5 games in a row. The rest of it, I'm confident that he can. There's no level of adapting. He's already been there. He's just got to get back to where he was. And if he can be that it wasn't that long ago, great. But I don't think this is an example of a long exhibition, probably benefiting people that are evaluating him himself as well.
Oh, yeah. I would think Sutter's going to, and Jay Woodcroft even outlined he was going to play 3 of the first 5. And so considering their next 2 games are on the road in Calgary and Vancouver, usually the home team plays better lineups. Sutter's a Red Deer guy. I could see, and you know how it is, Terry, every game is exciting in the NHL, but certain games are more exciting than others for certain players. It's just a fact. It's human nature, right? Being an Alberta guy, his whole family, his dad, his uncles, coaches, scouts. So I could see why I would play Brandon Sutter tomorrow in Calgary to kind of see what type of jump he's going to have. But then there's also the chance that you can play him Saturday in Vancouver because that's the last team he played for, and he was playing pretty well there. So either way, Jay Woodcroft's got an opportunity to do things. But I look at the fact that he could, I'd play him in Calgary. Where would you play him?
I would play them both.
Oh, okay. All right.
Is that an option?
You could.
Well, I want to see how he can do it. I mean, one of the things I'm evaluating this guy on is his, can he play a full season? Can he adapt to being off the last 2 years? I don't care what gym he was in. I would want to see him as much as I possibly could. If it's up to me and it's a guy like that, I play him 7 of the 8 games.
All right. Okay. Now let's get to our big guest of the day, brought to you by the Silent Rides Charter Company, one of Alberta's premier bus charter companies with state-of-the-art motor coaches that take you and your group safely to your next destination. Book your ride at silentrides.ca. And our next guest, he is a receiver for the LA Chargers, and big opportunity. Unfortunately, because one of his teammates, Mike Williams, is down for the season with a torn ACL. But next man up, and this next man is obviously has lots of experience. But like any player, you're always looking for more opportunities. Josh Palmer joins us. Josh, welcome to the show. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Hey, I'm excellent, man. Every player never wants to have a teammate go down to injury, and that's the reason why they get more opportunity. But that's also kind of the reality of pro sports sometimes. You know, you're on the roster, you're in the offense, you're getting balls, but now, you know, you probably have a bigger role. Do you have kind of any guess on, you know, how much bigger a role, and how excited are you about that?
You know, I'm really excited. You know, I'm still really sad about Mike. You know, Mike is really close to me, really close to the receiver, so we hate to see him go down. But, you know, he has full confidence. Keenan has full confidence, and I and Justin have full confidence in myself that, you know, I'm able to just do what I do just now more often.
Give me your sense of, you know, you've gotten to know Justin Herbert. Obviously, you know, you've played with him for a few seasons. You know, he's an electrifying quarterback, Josh. But as a receiver, what makes him so good? What is it that makes your job as a receiver easier when he's throwing you the ball?
He just puts the ball in the right place. You know, it doesn't matter what kind of route I run. It could not be the greatest route, but he'll do his part and be a pro as well and throw it on the money. You know, we always talk about that. We always find it pretty funny whenever I go up to him and I ask him about the route. How was that route? I could have did a better job. And he's like, yeah, you know, I'm a pro too, right? So I have to put it in the right spot for you to be successful.
Josh, Connor Halley here. Well, go ahead.
Go ahead, Josh. With Mike Williams out, as mentioned, you'll probably have a bigger role, obviously. So does this change your preparation for the week? Do you work closer with the quarterback, being Herbert, or do you just go same as you've been doing?
No, I do the same as I've been doing. I've been preparing as if I've been the number one receiver since my rookie year. My preparation doesn't change. You know, I continue to do what I do. I've always been working with Justin since I've been here. And like I said before, the wire prepare is fairly strong. So I just have to, like I said earlier, I just have to keep doing what I'm doing, just more often.
Herbert, I hear, puts the time in, and I know he plays through injuries. It sounds like a leader to me. Is he a good leader in the room?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. He's a good leader. He's a vocal leader. He leads by example.
Josh, Connor Halley here. Just quickly, Kellen Moore coming over from the Cowboys this past offseason as the new offensive coordinator. How has that gone, the transition to his offense, and how much do you like what he's been able to do, not only getting the passing game going, but also the run attack?
I love it a lot. You know, we go deep, and we're going to run the ball a lot. You know, unfortunately, Austin is down right now, but we have J.K., Spiller. We have a bunch of guys back there who can tote the rock. So, you know, we're going to put guys in the right places to be successful. I think that was one of the main things about his offense. And so far, we've been doing that.
When you have, you know, you mentioned going deep as a receiver, like I get crossing patterns are fun, Josh. But if you got to pick, what's your favorite route that you would want to run with Herbert as your quarterback?
With Herbert, any route.
Okay. Now, what about you? What do you think is your best route to run? Like for you, if we had to say, okay, Josh, you get to pick one route that you're like, I am 100% guaranteed no one's covering me. What's the route?
Is it fair? Is it fair for me to say every route too?
Well, it can be fair, but everybody's better at one thing than the other. It's got to be one that you like better. You're just like, hey,
I don't want to give it away to the competition, you know.
Okay, I can understand that. But you know,
I mean, they won't know when I'm. They won't know when I'm running the route. But I don't know. I like all routes. You know, especially working with Keenan. You know, you tend not to favorite one route because you learn to run so many.
And what about the motion we're seeing? The Miami Dolphins are doing it more than anyone else, Josh. And it's not the same waggle as the CFL, but as a receiver, every receiver who came up here and played and got the waggle, they're like, oh my God, I love it because I'm in motion. I got a bigger advantage. We're starting to see it more. Do you think you'll see that even more in your offense as it progresses and you have yourself and Keenan Allen and other receivers a little bit more in motion?
I am not sure. I can't foresee the future in terms of what Coach Moore is going to do with the offense, but you know, it's been successful. You know, Miami is really successful with it. It's not exactly what they can do in Canada, but you know, it seems like with Keller, we're going to do everything.
Well, it definitely does. And, you look at it, and offense in the NFL, it's changed so much, in the last decade. It's definitely more of a passing league, which is great, at least from my perspective. And I assume as you as a receiver, you love it because you got a chance to get your ball in your hands way more often. And just, it's always evolving. Like when you're in the film room and you look at when you came in till now, how different is the creativity of the offense in your eyes? Like, are you seeing it be that much more just not pass happy is the wrong word, but more creative in the passing game? Have you noticed a difference in your few years in the NFL?
Wait, sorry, what are you asking? Are you asking how creative the offenses are since I've been in the NFL or in the new offense?
Yeah, no, since you've been if you look back to when you first came in till now, which I know isn't super long time, but still the game seems to have changed a lot offensively in the last 3 years.
Right. Yeah, I feel like it's becoming a throwing league. But I also think some people take advantage of the run game and how successful the run game could be, especially when you need to win games. But from a receiver standpoint, it's fun. You get to run around. You're going up against better DBs because they're throwing the ball much more often, so guys got to cover. But I'm still fairly young in the league, so I'm not seeing much of a difference.
Okay,
probably asking like another 5 years.
Joshua, just one last question here for me. A lot of people, and I know fantasy doesn't really matter to you, but a lot of people looking at the waiver wire, looking at Quentin Johnston, the rookie out of TCU. Can you give us a scouting report on what you've seen from him in practice so far? Q's coming a long way since he's been here since the rookie mini camp, and he's coming along well. You're gonna see him fly around. You're gonna see everybody fly around. It's gonna be a sight to see. Now in terms of fantasy football, I don't really know much about that, but we got ultra confidence in this receiver room for sure.
Well, Josh, best of luck this weekend, getting back to 500, then onward and upward for the Chargers. Thanks for your time.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
That's Josh Palmer in his third season with the LA Chargers, and obviously will be taking on a bigger role with the unfortunate injury to Mike Williams, who is done for the season with an ACL. The Chargers probably followed closely by the Ravens the last few seasons, decimated by key injuries at times. And Mr. Eckler practiced again today, Connor. What's your thoughts? Are you going to see him in the lineup on Sunday?
I mean, it's starting to look that way, especially with, the injury to Mike Williams. You need guys to step up. Obviously, Joshua Palmer's going to get that opportunity, as is Quentin Johnston, but I think Eckler's going to give it a go. He's pretty tough. I guess there is that risk of re-aggravating the injury, right? And making sure you are 100%. From what I saw, there is a little risk with just his ability to cut. And if Austin Eckler's playing style, that's something he does rely on. So it might be a little bit risky, but I would expect him to try to give it a go on Sunday. Always watch the insiders, though. Get that last report before you start them.
All right. That's Josh Palmer, our big guest, brought to you by Silent Rides Charter Company. We'll return. We have Ryan's rant coming up a little bit later on. He's got a hockey rant for you. Also got a lot of text to get to. 833-401-1440. It's the Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440 and live on Owners Nation YouTube.
Hey, sports fans, we've got a clear choice for you. At Crystal Glass, we provide customers with the perfect glass for any job. From home to auto and even commercial, installation or repairs, we're your team. Call 310 Glass or visit crystalglass.ca. Crystal Glass.
The job isn't done until the last load is hauled, and having a semi-trailer out of commission is not an option. Whether replacing
Voda.com.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Mr. Rooter Plumbing. At Mr. Rooter, they only employ the finest organic, grain-fed, free-range plumbers for all your plumbing needs. Go to mrrooter.ca.
Sports Radio is back. The Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
Let's do it again.
We built a foundation, brick by brick. Eye for an eye, keep your eyes on this. Cause shadows move in the strangest forms. Music in your ear.
Jason Gregor, Connor Halley, as we roll through the Gregor Show on Sports 1440 and Orders Nation YouTube, coming to you live from the eWell studio. Of course, eWell proudly sponsored your local electrical distributor. As they like to say, stay tuned for an electrifying show that's going to light up your day. That's right. I love that from ewell.ca. I'm Jason Gregor. Also, Terry Ryan, as always, along for the Thursday ride. We got a lot of texts flying in at 833-401-1440. Hey, guys, what's your thoughts on Drake Kajula's chances of making the team? Well, I'm going to say really low because he's a left winger, and the Oilers have Kane, Nugent Hopkins, Fogle, and Holloway ahead of him right now. So I think, and they're only carrying 12 forwards. So I don't see where he fits in. Do you, Terry?
No, I agree totally. I was thinking about that last night while going through the lineup. Doesn't matter how well he plays either. It's just one of those situations. You know, each team finds themselves in that position once in a while. I think he has a future. I'm just not sure if it's here.
Yeah, well, you know, he signed the $750, gets good money, being in the minors, and you know, probably more in a little bit of a leadership role at this stage of his career. He was an NHLer, helped the Oilers 6 years ago, but you know, now he might be more of an AHL guy, if I'm being completely honest. You know, it's kind of like Adam Ernie. Like Adam Ernie's here on a PTO. I really think Adam Ernie's here in Edmonton on a PTO, and is going to hope to play really well and maybe see another team that signs him, because that's
what I think happens to these guys a lot, you know, like it would.
Because even with, I look at Ernie, like when I look at how many contracts Edmonton has, like, so Sam Gagner, granted it's on a PTO, but he's going to start in the American League. You've got Drake Kajula, he'll be in the American League. You might have Raphael Lavoie. If you don't have Raphael Lavoie, then, you know, maybe, Lane Peterson's going to be there for sure. And I don't know, would Sutter sign a contract to start in the American League? Maybe. So there's just a lot of bodies down there with all their young kids, and they want some of their young kids to play. So I just don't see how it benefits the Oilers to sign Adam Ernie to an AHL deal. He's either on this team or I think he's released from his PTO. I don't see how he's going to go to the minors. Doesn't make sense to me.
No, it doesn't make sense to me either. Sometimes you bring those guys in because there could be injuries during camp. Sometimes over the summer, guys are tight, whatever happens. Lots of teams have it. Sometimes you have 3 injuries at the same position, right? So, but unless something like that happens, there's some unique situation. Just don't see it. Just don't see it.
TR, did you ever have somebody in training camp outwardly complain that they weren't getting a fair shot during camp? Interesting question from Steve.
That is a great question. And I know of a couple of examples, except I never saw it publicly, or I never saw it because I'd be in a room, like, you know, you get people's trust, and you might sit down. In Montreal, we would go at a Nickel restaurant, order some spaghetti, and maybe have a chat about it. But not in my experience did I see many people come out publicly and say that.
Yeah, well, more so even just as a team, and I think Steve was referencing, right, where, geez, I'm not getting a good look here, and and sometimes I think there's probably truth to that, Terry. But then sometimes there might be a case where I'm like, dude, because players know at the end of the day, like, who's really good enough or not, right? Like, you know, I don't expect you to name names, or maybe if you want to go ahead, but there's probably some guys you played with that their idea of how good or how hard they worked was different than the reality.
Well, that's definitely true. That's definitely true. So that usually that sort of stuff, you know, you run into people, oh, you know, the system screwed me over, and usually something happened. You're not telling me the whole story. But what I do see often, more often than not, if the player has a case, it's not how much they were out there, it's who they were out there with.
Okay.
You know, I mentioned the guy that went the year after me, Matt Higgins, great player in Moose Jaw, 2A. really underrated hands, real good player. I thought he was going to play 1,000 games in the NHL. But if we go to camp and you put him with Dave Morissette and, God, I don't know, Russ Gouger, he's probably not going to do as much as he would. I'm not saying he's got to be with, I'm going back now 20 years. I'm giving you my experience.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to play with Koivu and, Damphus or something like that. But, put him with a couple of guys that can maybe show his positive attributes, like there was, and I saw that more than, I use Matt as an example because it sticks out to me, but I saw that a lot, and the player would have a leg to stand on. But usually if it's like time or didn't get invited into a camp, there's probably a reason, or after the end of a season, usually that season goes by. Okay, at some point, we're not trying to lose. I'm going to put you with those players, but camp can go by and you can get a guy going, my God, you didn't let me thrive. That happens.
Yeah, and camp's such a short time. And like I look at Edmonton because we had people saying, well, Lavoie should get a look in the top 6. And I'm like, why? He's not going to play in the top 6 in Edmonton, right? And if he plays like, if he gets a look with Warren Fogle, proven NHL player, Derek Ryan, proven NHL player, Matthias Janmark, go down the list. Like those are the guys he's going to play with in the regular season. So if you want to say he should have a look with those guys, I totally agree with you. But I don't see much benefit to say, hey, you know what? Connor McDavid's only going to play 3 preseason games, so let's play one of them with Raphael Lavoie, even though we know there's zero chance he's going to play in the regular season. It doesn't make sense.
And it often goes the other way. I remember, God, a great example would be Aaron Asham. Aaron Asham was, let's just say, in my experience, again, I'm talking about Matt Higgins, okay? Matt couldn't never fight and wasn't as physical. Now, Aaron had 45 goals twice, had more goals. You could make an argument Ash was a better player offensively. You could make the argument. But Matt slotted in for that top 6, so he's got to fit into that where Aaron can slide back down, play on the fourth. That's often why you get a guy like Holloway. What are we seeing? Can he fit here? Or that Robertson kid in Toronto? Can he fit here? He looks like a good player, but there's already 8 top 6 forwards here. So what are we going to do? Whereas some guys can change their game and be comfortable doing that. So often camp will bring that out too. Well, you thought you were a first liner. Bad news, you're not. Good news, you're on the team.
Yeah. Which is, I would think for most guys, I'm on the team. That means I'm making basically 10 times more than I'd be making in the minors. And I'm in the NHL, and I'm getting free meals all the time, and I'm flying first class. So there's lots of other benefits to it. But I'm sure, there have been some that it's easy if you want to convince yourself that you weren't given a fair shot rather than say, you know what, maybe I'm not good enough. Right. And that's hard to admit because there's lots of really good players, Terry, and I shouldn't even say not good enough, not consistent enough might be better. Right. Because I think that's the line that separates a lot of NHLers. Injuries, of course, being the wild card that can screw over all, like it's the number one contributor to people not reaching their potential. That's a fact. That's been proven in lots of studies. But when you look at players, like I see guys that come up and they show you a spurt here or there, and then it's gone. Right. And finding consistency is really hard in the NHL.
That's honestly why I love watching Leon Draisaitl play. McDavid, obviously, okay, and he's so fast, but Draisaitl, he gets in these because like a lot of great players. If you're even talking about anybody considered for the top 6, even if you're in the NHL, usually if you get some free space, you will be able to wow somebody. You might get 8 goals all year, but 4 of them might be, whoa, did you see that? Like you said, it's consistency. But some guys go out there, I don't know, the absolute greats with the great thinkers in the league, again, outside of McDavid. Let's go Draisaitl. Let's go Mitch Marner. I like watching Patrick Kane. Of course, I hope he comes back. But guys like that who can like consistently have that time and space and wow you still, I find that can be mesmerizing. But anybody that brings even a remote, like what I'm saying is that those guys pull off magic consistently. But if you can just consistently get open and get a good shot on net, make a good pass, I don't know, Derek Ryan, you mentioned guys that are in the NHL that get used to it, that, you can see how experience helps them. They might not be unbelievable, but they make the consistent play. And once in a while, if they get open, it's under the bar,
Yeah. Oh, and it's funny because it's another thing to me is the players, those defensemen that you don't talk about a lot, who just consistently make the 10-foot pass. And people think it's easy. But I'm telling you, it's not easy to always put the puck on the tape. And there's just some guys who, and I'm not talking about the offensive guys because, they make the great passes. Yeah, they might miss one or two. Like even Draisaitl, he makes a lot of sick passes and then he misses some, sure. But like there are certain guys like Devon Taves in Colorado, like he's constantly making the right play. And it's not always flashy, Terry, but man, it's effective.
I'll tell you this, and again, going back to my experience, guys, that when you're out there practicing daily and pregame warm-ups and watching and everything, I know I didn't play a lot, but at least that 96, 97, that full year, I was up there most of the year, man. And I remember going out every day and by like the second month going, I think Stefan Quintal is the best D on our team. No one would ever say that. But man, coming out of the zone and like, just having his man in the zone. And like a lot of people did flashier things. Some people were more fit. I don't know. We had Patrice Brisebois on our team, Vladimir Malakoff, pretty flashy here and there. Breezer was a little more reliable. Then you had, we had Dave Manson, right? Oh. We had Ulanov. Like we had guys out there that were mean, and then you had Quintal, and he was so tough, and he would take on anybody because he was a gamer. But to me, he always made the right play coming out. He was so smooth, and because of that, and we relied on him so much, and he was so smooth that you almost took it for granted.
Hey, guys, Holloway had an unbelievable preseason last year, and he couldn't grasp the top six. Levahi's haven't done 50% of what Holloway did. Why would anyone think he's top six? Well, Ontario, I don't think anybody does. Even Lavoie. So I want to pump the brakes here. 99.9% of people don't think Raphael Lavoie is ready for top six, and that's fine. He shouldn't be. Raphael Lavoie himself knows where the job opening is in Edmonton. The job opening in Edmonton is on the fourth line. That's just how it is. Now, there's some guys as Janmark, as Ryan, who's going to be on the third line. We'll see. Maybe neither. Maybe it's going to be Holloway, Fogle, and McLeod when McLeod's healthy. We'll see. But we know the one opening that's there is on the fourth line. They would like it to be the centerman, but it doesn't have to be. If Lavoie crushes it, then they can move Derek Ryan to play center. But, the thing about, and there's the other thing about crushing in preseason, Terry, because you played preseason games. And then you get to the NHL, and then you get to the first 10 NHL games, and then you get to a month into the season. You're like, oh my God, like every level is so much better. Like the first few preseason games compare like 60% of what an NHL game is. Like, I think that might be an accurate portrayal of how different the early preseason games are to what an actual NHL regular season game is. So I think it's really hard to even evaluate a guy if he's playing well, because you're like, well, yeah, he's playing well, but he's playing well when it's half AHL guys. You know what I mean?
I do. And look, to go back to that question, no, I do agree with you fully. But that's kind of what I'm saying, though, with when he said, there's no room on the first two lines, and, if Holloway is going to be there, what's the point? I'll tell you what the point is. This is what I'm saying. It's often, I don't know, to me, Holloway, you drafted him for a reason to be possibly on those first two. I think that I can expect that. I want to know if he can play on the fourth. That's what I'm saying. I'll tell you a story. I just mentioned Aaron Asham. 2010, 2011, the Flyers went on a run. They were down 3-0 to somebody and came back and won 4 games of 3. One of the only times it's ever happened. They went to Montreal, I believe, for one of those series. They made it to the final. They played the Habs, I think, in the second round. In whatever the case, I flew up to Montreal to watch, and Simon Gagner got hurt. Now, Aaron was on the fourth line all year, but it was nice to know that he could play on the now we got to have someone go up. Now we need somebody there. Well, Aaron can play there. Aaron's on the fourth line. I don't know who else was there. I don't know if Jody Shelley was there, someone like that. I don't know if Jody can do it, but Aaron Asham definitely can. He's a fourth liner, but we know he can play up. We saw it in camp. He had 45 twice in junior. That's kind of what I mean. You want to know if someone can fill all those roles, because I don't know. Yeah, and a team like Holloway's on, there's no chance he's getting up on those first 6 right now. But injuries happen, trades happen, all kinds of things happen, that if we get down to it, can he play on the third or fourth line? Because we know we can slot him up there on the power play with those big guns, and he's probably going to succeed. Can he take a hit? Can he block that shot? Can we rely on him defensively to get out there 2 or 3 times a period? That's what I'd want to know.
Jason Gregor, Terry Ryan with you. Got a lot of text to get to. Also, when we come back, Ryan's rant on the Jason Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca, live on Sports 1440 and Oilers Nation YouTube.
Trevor is lonely.
Yeah. So Trevor threw a big party and served salad.
Nobody came.
Mike is also lonely.
Yeah, it sucks, man.
So Mike threw a big party and served Will Hawk beef jerky.
Go Will Hawk! Go Will Hawk! Everybody came!
Will Hawk beef jerky, because you don't win friends with salad.
Will Hawk is the home of Alberta's best beef jerky.
In Leduc, Spruce Grove, and West Edmonton Mall.
Legacy Heating and Cooling is sounding the call. Don't struggle through winter with a furnace you can't trust. For maintenance before winter strikes,
Call Legacy. Call Legacy.
for furnace tune-ups and repairs to give peace of mind.
Call Legacy. Call Legacy.
Or to scrap your old furnace for a brand new high-efficiency one.
Call Legacy. Call Legacy.
And with no payments, no interest for 1 year on your new furnace, it's gotta be Legacy Heating and Cooling.
Some things just work together. Sticks and pucks, cleats and AstroTurf. Your love for the game and Papa John's passion for better ingredients, better pizza. Nothing pairs with the game like Papa John's. Crafted with signature sauce, toppings, and original fresh dough. They're the champion of pizza. And now you're the champion of winning deals. Just order at papajohns.ca. Use promo code SPORTS20 and score 20% off any regular menu price order. Better ingredients, better pizza. Papa John's. That's SPORTS20.
Ain't it beautiful? The inventory is unprecedented. Volvo Cars Edmonton is proud to boast an amazing selection of in-stock Volvo XC40s, 60s, and 90s. Visit Volvo Cars Edmonton today and experience the exemplary service you've come to expect and the affordable luxury only found with Volvo Cars Edmonton, Canada's only 12-time Volvo Excellence Award winners. Experience the difference.
Volvo of Edmonton.
A solid financial plan is made up of more than just investments. Investments are an important part, but you need a more comprehensive approach. Vincent Pearson at Weird Pearson Akel & Associates Private Wealth Management understands that. He can help build a plan that includes retirement, estate planning, personal insurance, tax strategies, and yes, investments. Talk to him today and see the difference a real financial plan makes. Weird Pearson Akel & Associates. Call 780-988-4119 or visit weirdadvisoryteam.com.
Safeway's Family of Support gives kids like me early access to mental health support at local children's hospitals. Now until October 1st, you can help more kids by making a donation at your local Safeway. Together, we'll make sure kids get the mental health support they need.
Mr. Lube's free wipers event is on now. For a limited time, get free Goodyear wiper blades with your oil change at Mr. Lube in Spruce Grove. No appointment needed. Located at the corner of Century Road and McLeod Avenue. Download coupon at mrlube.com.
Sports 1440 is thrilled to announce that this Sunday, Fox Sports makes its debut with incredible NFL coverage. Fox will also provide more sports overnight and every weekend with an incredible lineup of talent. Only on Sports 1440.
At Fountain Tire, save big during our Road Ready sales event until October 21st. Who wouldn't want up to 25% on select tires and a bonus of $50 off any service? A lizard, maybe? Or a ghost? Restrictions apply, financing available. Book your appointment at fountaintire.com.
Right about now, the Funk Soul Brother. Check it out now. The Funk Soul
Portions of this
Brother.
hour brought to you by Jaffa Machinery. Jaffa is digging deep on their 50-year history of supporting Alberta's construction industry with their line of special edition blackout excavators. Visit jaffamachinery.com for all the details.
Sports Radio is back. The Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
Soul Brother, right about now. The Funk Soul Brother, check it out now. The Funk Soul Brother. Right about now. The Funk Soul Brother, check it out now. The Funk Soul Brother, right about now. The Funk Soul Brother, check it out.
We continue on Thursday afternoon. Jason Gregor, Terry Ryan with you. Sports 1440. And it's time now for Ryan's Rant, brought to you by Action Electrical. Right now you can get up to a $40,000 10-year interest-free loan available from the government of Canada and $5,600 in grants, free money, if you're looking to get residential solar. Learn more at actionelectrical.net. And it is time for Ryan's Rant.
Okay, here we go. So once again, I've written it out. I talk and I get worked up. I get ahead of myself, so I don't want to leave anything out, first of all. Second of all, you'll be happy to know that this week I've stayed away from real polarizing topics like religion. I've stayed and all that jazz. And I've stayed close to home in giving you the one thing, or at least the top thing on my list that I think needs to be changed about the game of hockey. Okay? Bear with me. Over the years, we've seen many calls for changes to our game. Some work out, some don't. Some get tweaked and stick around. 1910, the game went from 2 30-minute periods or halves to 3 20s. In 1927, the introduction of a forward pass created for a new era of offensive explosion, paving the way for players like Maurice Richard just a short time later to revolutionize the game. 91-92, the NHL introduced video replays on goals as referees needed obvious assistance, often with game-breaking goal situations. 05-06 shootouts are introduced. 15-16, we went to the 3-on-3 overtime to speed up the game and create more exciting odd-man rushes for the fans. All of these rules weren't unanimous changes agreed on by all voters, but they were all the result of major discussions surrounding the coolest game on earth by fans, players, or builders. One thing that not a lot of people asked for, though, was video replay for offsides. In 2013, while playing for the Colorado Avalanche in a late-season, regular-season yawner of a game versus Nashville, Matt Duchene was 20 feet offsides, and because of this blatant human error that led to a -1 for 5 unlucky Predators players, within minutes, the clip had gone viral, and there was public outcry to change the game and add video replay offsides. It worked for goals. It might as well be added for offsides. The anger subsided, though, and offsides wasn't seen to be a major problem in the overall scheme of things. It was a mistake, a bad mistake, but an isolated mistake, an outlier. As a player, I'm sure I've argued the odd call or non-call with a linesman, but it ended there and was usually forgotten about before the puck dropped the next period, or even face-off. The way I figured, the vast majority of the time, the inch or so of difference, one way or the other, wasn't all that important. In the end, it was usually more often the result of our team's defensive blunder than a linesman whose eyes were mistaken by a fingernail or two. Seeing someone make a nice pass on a 2-on-1 to a streaking teammate who goes bar down would usually have me tipping my hat to a great execution by the other team rather than complain about another player's foot on the other side of the ice that wouldn't have anything to do with the goal in the first place. Other than a day or two of Duchene's goal going viral and spawning memes and jokes across the hockey world, which is a new age problem that can be linked to all walks of life, nobody was asking for this. I don't even ever recall conversations with hockey fans, family, or friends wondering what the hell we were going to do with no offsides replay. Many replays make sense. Goals, yes. Plays at first base in baseball, maybe. But nobody asked for this. On top of what I've already stated, here's a scenario. The play often goes on for minutes. The home crowd goes into a frenzy when their team captain cuts across the middle and makes a sleek move, touching twine like Mario Lemieux. The building is electric. The game is tied. Excitement is at a season high and fans are roaring. The noise meter is at playoff level. But wait, no goal. 2 minutes earlier, before a well-executed cycle in both corners, after 6 hits, 3 shots, and a block, the game stops for longer than the shift was in the first place, and we see someone's skate blade was unfortunately at an angle only caught on video that was indeed technically a pubic hair offsides. This is ridiculous, unnecessary, and painfully slows down the fastest sport known to man, killing momentum and frustrating thousands. It's a stupid rule. No one asked for it. Nobody wants it. Let's hope it goes the way of the dodo soon.
Oh, it's so true, man. I agree. It was, well, at least they've, remember when they first put it in and then they were like, oh, your skate's off the ice. And we're like, what? Why does your skate off the ice have any, you're not in the zone any farther. at all. Like that was the worst one. So at least they've figured that one out. And they've changed it, which makes it way easier because here's a guy who's not in the zone, but his skate is above the plane, which I'm like, what? Then technically he's not offside. His skate's still outside the zone. It's just not on the ice. So they have gone better. And I actually think the NHL might have learned from that because they all overreacted. Oh my goodness, the ref, everybody knew it was a blatant miscall. Like it was so obvious. Okay, fine. And so if you want to go to replay, and I've always said this, if you want to go to replay and it's in real time, go right ahead. But when you got to slow it down frame by frame, which of course the human eye, it's impossible for them to see that. Literally impossible. The human eye doesn't go in slow motion when it's tracking it. So, of course, the officials, if somebody look at this camera angle. We're going frame by frame. And look at this one. It's super duper, supersonic slow motion offside by a pubic hair. It's a very good description, by the way, TR. And I agree with you. I don't think they'll ever go back to it now, but at least I think they could go one step further. And the next step would say, okay, we'll have offside review, but only in real time. And then you're watching in real time. Well, I can't tell if it's offside. Well, guess what? Because it's not going to impact the play that much.
Yeah, exactly. And I just, of all the times, just think about it. Like, how many times has it really come down to that? And as a player, I remember lots. The puck didn't go in. I mean, the act of a goal, I can see that. Okay, the puck goes in or not. That's directly, obviously affecting things. But most of the time, these calls, like the players didn't even know. Like we're now what we're doing, we're slowing down this, and I didn't realize that was offsides. Even times, I remember the odd time, like it might be even like 6 inches, which I guess is half a foot. Is it? Like,
yeah,
I don't know. It usually has nothing to do with the goal. Even as a player, I remember being kind of more upset that in those situations that our defensive game broke down. Right, that was the first thing I leapt to. But anyway, I don't want to make it about me. That was my experience over all the years and all the hockey and all the ball hockey. And now as a fan, and I don't think my mind has been changed here. I don't see it. No one asked for it. And that's the biggest thing to me. No one asked for it. I mean, I'm sure somebody did, but this wasn't.
Some of the GMs whined about it. The GM.
Yeah. Some of the GMs while they were on the booze down at their meetings in Florida. It was 10 rungs down the ladder on the list, even at the time, of things that the game needed to improve. And it slowed it down the most, right? We were going to games and sometimes 10 minutes stops. People get aggravated. They're not into the game anymore. The momentum is killed, not only for the team, for the fans, man. And you don't want that.
No. And the other thing that I've never liked about the rule is it only takes away goals. It never goes and says, hey, we're going to review this play.
Yeah.
Because once they blow the whistle, and there are because I know for a fact, if there's times where they're just offside by a bit and it's not whistled down, then guess what? There's as equal amount of times where the guys were onside and it was whistled down for offside, and who knows if they would have scored. We'll never know, but it was only ever punishing goals at a time when the league didn't score. And thankfully, offense is up. And I think the vast majority of people, unless you're one of those super sticklers, you got to get everything right. I want it perfect. Well, how can you watch sports then? Because sports isn't perfect. It's perfectly imperfect, which is what makes it exciting, right? Mistakes are always part of the game. You can't get a replay. Geez, you know what? Whoa, that goal shouldn't count because normally our defenseman wouldn't pass it up the middle. Let's review that. It's no different.
Yeah, and if we're reviewing that, we can review icings. Did the defenseman pinch? Did the puck hit a stick? I don't know. Let's review that. Let's review, if we're talking about dimensions like offsides, let's review whether the player jumped over to make a line change early enough. That could be a matter of 25 feet, really, and often is. But what happens? We let it go because it doesn't matter. And the overall scheme of things, it doesn't matter. No one's complaining. It's all good, right? There's much more pressing things we need to get to. So let's just leave that. But you could put the video replay in for a line change just as much. It would make just as much sense, which to me is none.
Hey, boys, 1,000% agree. Not much annoys me more than waiting for an offside review from Uncle Jesse. Hey, guys, what if it's up to the ref's discretion to determine control of the puck? Why can't they have ref's discretion if the offside has an impact on the play? From Roldy. Well, it's a good question. And I think because discretion from Terry or Jason or Connor or Roldy might all be different at a certain time. And that probably opens it up even more, right? And so I don't know if, like, I know penalties right now are discretion of the officials, and one day hey, you know what? I think that's a hook, and the other guy the next day, I'm not sure. I'm going to let it go, and that's part of it. So it's the linesman number one who are calling the offsides. I think they get it right way more than they get wrong. Think about it. Think about when they change the rule now, and you get punished if you're wrong. Look at how much it's diminished on offside reviews, because they're like, well, geez, I'm not really sure. So they don't do it anymore, right? Yeah. There's consequences to it, which makes it way better. Hey, guys, I bet if you use the same NHL replay technology that was used in 1963, they still wouldn't know who shot JFK from Sean.
You never know what you're going to get.
Was there a second spitter? Was there a second spitter? That's what we need to know.
What an episode. What an
Oh,
episode.
buddy, unbelievable episode. Roger McDowell, so good. When Newman tells the story, it's so funny. Well, that is one magic loogie. Like when they're reenacting it in his kitchen. Oh, God, I was dying. It's such a classic. Like some of Seinfeld's best episodes had to do with sports, which is amazing. Like
and hockey too. Hockey's in there a little bit. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
The George Costanza one, when he's giving them tips on hitting.
When he shrinks all the jerseys.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's another one. Oh yeah, because they're watching the highlights. Jeez, I know there's itching and scratching. Oh, so funny.
It always ties together at the end. Kramer golfing.
Oh God, his golf scenes are so classic. But I do want to ask quickly before I go to break there. Did you ever see anyone in all your different jobs that you've worked try to get fired as well as George did when he was driving around in the parking lot with the megaphone dragging the trophy behind? Have you ever seen anybody at work have like a greatest exit of getting fired?
I've seen nothing like that. I've had this conversation with buddies, and some share stories, because that's a classic episode as well. I mean, who tries that? But there are situations, I suppose, as arose for George Costanza that day, but no. That's why it's so funny to me, because I'm sure the situation happens, right?
Oh, somebody out there. Yes, one of our texters, let me know when you, like, the best thing you've seen, funniest, couldn't believe it that somebody did. They're like, I'm getting fired. I'm going to make sure I get fired. I don't want to quit, because if I get fired, then I'm going to get some, severance. And they go out of their way to ensure that it happens. Let us know at 833-401-1440. Let's get to the con man and a Sports 1440 update brought to you by Ewell. From LED lighting audits and retrofits to design, build, distribution systems, Ewell services can give you the edge you need to impress your clients. EWEL.ca.
This is a Sports 1440 update.
Week 4 in the NFL kicks off tonight at Lambeau as the 2-1 Green Bay Packers host the 2-1 Detroit Lions. That one's set to get going at 6:15. You can watch that one with our very own Brandon Douglas at the Lewis Estates Canadian Brewhouse, and win a chance to go to the Super Bowl down in Vegas. The Jays in action tonight, looking to score a run as they take on the Yankees once again. First pitch set for 5:07. Elsewhere around the majors, Brewers lead the Cards 3-0. That one's in the bottom of the 7th. Some finals from earlier today. White Sox knocked off the Diamondbacks 3-1. It was the Athletics over the Twins 2-1, and the Royals fall to the Tigers 7-3. Around the league tonight, you got the Mariners taking on the Rangers, the Dodgers in Colorado, Braves host the Cubs, Marlins take on the Mets, Red Sox up against the Orioles, and the Phillies hosting the Pittsburgh Pirates. Tampa Bay Lightning goaltender Andrei Vasilevsky underwent successful back surgery on Thursday and will miss the first 2 months of the regular season. The 29-year-old played in 60 games last season, posting a record of 34, 22, and 4. AJHL showcase going on right now. Camrose and GP tied at 3 apiece midway through the third. Earlier today it was Whitecourt over Drumheller 3-0. Still to come tonight, Bonnyville hosts Drayton Valley, and Lloydminster takes on Okotoks. Coming up in hour 3 of the Jason Gregor Show, we'll be joined by former NHLer Mike Commodore and hear another edition of 5 Questions. I'm Connor Halley, and this has been a Sports 1440 update.
Sports 1440, a Stingray Radio Sports radio is back. The Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
They say the danger's gone our way, but I can see the fire still light, burning into the night. There's too many men, too many people, thinking too many problems, and not much left to go around.
Rolling through a lovely Thursday afternoon. How are you? Jason Gregor, Connor Halley, Terry Ryan with us on the Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca on Sports 1440, which on Sunday we have a massive improvement to our station as a sports station because we'll have much more sports talk 24/7 on the weekends and from 9 p.m. until 6 p.m. the next day. Right? There'll only be 3 hours Monday to Friday that is not sports talk. It's pretty sweet. So I like that. It's very good. So we are officially your sports leader come Sunday because, right now nobody has more sports than us in our 11 hours a day, but that'll jump up 21 out of 24 on weekdays and 24 out of 24 on weekends. So you'll love it. Yeah, you know what? If you're a football fan, basketball fan, baseball fan, and don't worry, Jason Smith, who hosts the weekday night show, he's a huge hockey guy. He's actually going to join us on the show on Friday. So don't you worry. You'll have some hockey talk from Jason Smith as well. So we did get lots of text coming in on. I knew it. I knew that if we asked the audience, there would be people out there that would be able to share with us their experiences from people quitting. It's actually rather comedic, to say the least. So we'll get to some of those today. Looking forward to that. Also coming up later on the show, Spec will be by. We are going around the NHL and much more. So looking forward to that. Let's go first to some of the texts. Hey guys, funniest thing I ever saw was a guy quit his job at McDonald's, told his customer how unhealthy the food was, took the patty out of the bun and threw it against the wall. From Jason. Yeah, why would you do that? Right? Like, it's a very odd one to me, but I guess
the patty at the wall is odd. Yeah.
Yeah, you're kind of going out in glory. Hey guys, my buddy was a server and hated his job. We went to have a few beers. They give us a pitcher after pitcher without charging. After his boss caught on, he got canned. He stopped working and then joined us for beers. Geo. See, they're like, now you're ripping off the owner of your own company. Why? Just quit. Right?
Yeah, because people think when it's like a restaurant or something, it won't come back to bite them. Is why, because it's not like a government job or it's not like what they use their degree to get. So it won't come back to bite them. But what often happens is that the worlds collide and it does come back. It's just bad karma. Yeah.
Oh, 100%. I've never really understood why you would you'd want to do that. It doesn't make a huge amount of sense to me. Hey guys, one of our a buddy I know, well, I guess I shouldn't say buddy, a coworker of ours really needed to get fired. So he stripped down and streaked across the showroom floor. Steve. Now, if you do something like that, couldn't you just get fired with cause and then you don't even qualify for your to get paid out? Right?
Well, I don't think you need to risk a criminal charge. Anytime you strip and streak, no matter where.
Right? Yeah.
I mean,
hey, you know what? I'm going to quit here. So I'm going to tack on an indecent exposure charge to it. It really went out in a blaze of glory there.
Yeah, make sure I never get any job. How about that? So take that. I'll never work again.
Yeah. Hey, guys, what do you think of getting rid of the blue lines? So you're saying there's no offside? Yeah, I don't think so. It's funny. Sidney Crosby, actually, I don't know if Crosby's one who'd like to see the red line put back in the game because he thinks it would lead to more accurate passing. Right now, you know what? You see guys and they, there's no red line there. And so there's that one touch and they dump it in all the time. Like you stand on your side of center and you just put your stick on it and deflect it over and it's not icing. I hate that play. But because you're standing right at center. I don't really love it. That's an interesting one. Do you think putting the red line back in would be a good thing for the game?
From this perspective, for me as a winger coming out of my zone, what I found when the red line was taken away is that there's a few different iterations of what I'm going to say. But let's say a guy like Alexander Ovechkin, who I never played against, but I'm trying to create imagery for you. So he's on the other side, say breaking out. He shoots right, I shoot left. Say he's coming out of the zone and he doesn't get a pass, but he's breaking for it and he can like kind of go for it. So he can be in full speed and pass the red line and be waiting for it. And if it doesn't come, he like circles around. He's still got that speed. And if I get it with my head coming down the other way, there's just more of that. And then I get smoked. I found like more high, intense, high speed, open ice chaos. That's for different reasons. That's the easiest way I can put it. But as a winger coming out of my zone, and the game sped up when that happened, right? Now, it also happened when they took out a lot of the hooking and holding and like skiing and stuff. Part of being a good defensive forward was holding up your guy so he didn't get in the corner and hit your D. When you took all of that out, that's at the same time. To me, it was just like, better keep my head up here because now the hits go from like fairly hard to like everybody's Scott Stevens.
Yeah, no, that's fair. It's one where I'm like, like now maybe admittedly, I like offense more. And you know what? The early 2000s sucked. You know, there's barely any goals. You came out of the lockout and there was offense because they actually called the rule book. They're like, hey, we got this rule book. We're going to actually enforce the rules. And then they went away from it. And, the last few years, they seemingly are like, oh, you know what? We're going to call the rule book. Also, teams have better power plays now, so they make you pay more. And so even though teams know this, the officials are still calling the rules because the game's fast. Guys are quick. It's what? You move 6 inches the wrong way. Now you're out of position and you want to stick and hook and hold. And so I understand it. I have no problem with it. It's not like there was an endless parade of penalties. But to me, I don't need to slow the game down or somehow reduce offense just to see what the game would be like with the red line back in. So that's my hesitation. I don't see the need to go backwards, because I'm not sure putting in the red line will automatically lead to way more offense moving forward. And not just offense, because to me, way more offense comes with way more scoring chances. You don't have one without the other.
And yeah, I don't necessarily, I guess I gave you the negative as I see it as a player, but I think the game got faster and it was nice. Like the fans, it's nice to see people wheeling around. I mean, the pass Carlson made years ago, was it Duchesne, was it? I can't remember. Carlson from behind his net. He saucered above everybody to the far blue line. It was one of the nicest plays in the modern NHL, I think. Plays like that. Now, of course, people are always going to go, well, what if Lemieux played in Gretzky with no red line? Well, I guess they would have scored more. But, like, things change. I really respect Sid's point of view. I know where he's coming from. It's just one of those things. There's two sides of that. I can totally see both sides, but I do prefer, watching the game with some speed, going through the neutral zone. You got to adapt, right? That's it. I didn't like it. I didn't love it as a winger coming out, but survival of the fittest. It's a fast game.
Oh, it's a ridiculously fast game. And you know what? Now, faster doesn't always necessarily mean better, right? I don't know if today's players think the game infinitely better than players did before. I'm not sold on that at all. The game is quicker. You got to be able to skate. There's no doubt about that. But there's lots of guys that can skate really fast, but don't necessarily have the ability to score when they create space or chances. So, we can equate that. Yeah, geez, there's more scoring chances, sure, but are there more goals? Now the goalies obviously are pretty good now. I don't know if the goalies, are they more athletic than the goalies in the 90s and before? I'm not sold. I think they have been giving better goaltending instructions where you play the odds, and when you go down in a butterfly and now you cover up the bottom of the net, right? The only place to go is up high. Now the shooters are getting better and they're catching up because they actually have skills coaches now, right? For a decade, Terry, there was basically goalies had their own coach, and forwards and defensemen didn't really have their own skills coach. Now, lots of forwards and defensemen have skills coaches and they work on it. If you give them 3 inches, you've got guys who will hit that 3-inch spot 90% of the time. So now it's harder, and I'm curious to see if the goaltenders in the next 5 years, if we see an adjustment back to like a kind of like a hybrid where we might see them stand up a little bit rather than always going down. Because when you go down early, now guys just beat you over the shoulder.
Game's always changing. I agree. And yeah, it's a combination of things. Goalies is one of the biggest differences. Side note, when people say, well, Gretzky was shooting on those goalies and Lemieux, so no wonder. I'm like, well, everybody wasn't doing it, though. Yes, the points might have been inflated, but everybody wasn't doing it. That's what I love about, these guys won the scoring every year for 16 years, I believe. And if you throw Jagger in every year for 19 years or something, that kind of consistency. I keep bringing it up, but it blows me away. Now, there's one thing, again, in a hypothetical world, if I could see Gretzky playing without that red line, because I'm telling you, am I the only one that thinks he's way faster than people think? He was a bullet, man. Ever see that goal against Vernon, that shorthanded goal that he streaks down the wind? He goes from like nothing to top gear. And, the way he was so smart, and with the red line and with the hooking and holding, he could manipulate around that. He almost used all of that to his advantage. But really, I would like to see it. I think he was way faster than people think. And he always puts himself down. Oh, I wasn't good on breakaways. I wasn't fast. Well, you had to be something. I love it. I love your humility, but you had to be something, Wayne, right? And when I watch you out there, you can go watch those classic games. Like, he's going faster than everybody else. It's part of the equation, whether we like it or not.
Yeah, well, you rarely saw him get caught from behind on a breakaway. So if he wasn't that fast, he was fast enough, right?
Yeah, he was awkward looking, but fast.
Yeah, he wasn't Paul Coffey fast or Mark Messier, who was incredibly powerful, right? And guys like that, so totally understandable. But he was quick in short areas, and to me, he was fast when he needed to be fast. That's the one thing I found from Gretzky, right? All of a sudden, do I have a chance for a breakaway? No one's catching me, right? Like, he knew when to be fast.
He certainly did. And my favorite is watching Gretzky with when someone would pull the goalie, the opposition. Like, he knew exactly. His eyes were big as beach balls. He knew exactly where that puck was, and it always came to him. And hence, hey, he was breaking away. In my mind, that 50 and 39 wasn't that final goal an example of that? Didn't he break away from a guy and he's got it, and like he protects it and he's skating and he's being hooked and held, but it doesn't matter. He throws it in for that final goal. It's just I could talk about Gretz all day, to an Edmonton station being a childhood hero. Honestly, he transcended hockey. He was a hero.
Have you ever met Wayne?
Yeah, we had first of all, we had the same agent, Mike Barnett, and my draft even was in. I met him a few times. I don't know that he'd remember it, but the draft was in Edmonton, and they had like a lot of those guys come back. Yeah, I remember myself, Damon Lankow, and Sheldon Surrey. We were at the Crown Plaza, I think it was called, and I don't know what we were, say, on floor 7 and they were on 12 or something. I don't really recall, but I know that Mike was like, "Oh, why don't you go up and meet Wayne," or whatever it was. We just like went up for a minute and they were there playing cards, and it was I believe like Paul Coffey and Anderson and guys like that, the boys on the bus. So it was mesmerizing. And then I played an exhibition game in his last year. He had a hat trick. I fought Todd Harvey, both on YouTube. It was a great highlight for me. And it really was. I mean, I didn't get to score up there. Actually, an exhibition, a couple, but this was a good fight. Harvey came into me and he said, "Hey, kid, my parents are from Newfoundland. You want to go?" Just like that. In other words, hey, we got something in common. And sure. And I needed it. Same thing. Yeah. And we went there. Former Oiler. He went on the playoff run with him, Harvey. Yeah. And we had a great fight. And then after the game, I had my best friend in the world there, Jeremy Charles, who's now a world-renowned chef. He just moved to Montreal to get started. And a buddy of mine, Curtis Baggs. And Curtis was going to Acadia. He was one of my best friends, and he loved Gretzky, and it was Gretzky's last year. And when I found out I was playing, I called Curtis. I said, "Step on a plane." I didn't waste money a lot, but I bought him a plane ticket, got him a ticket to the game. And after the game, me, Curtis, and Jeremy were sitting there, like standing. I was waiting for someone on the other team. Maybe, I don't know, it was, Mark Savard, I think. We'd gone to Brainerd together, Minnesota, and trained. I knew Mark. It was great after NHL games when there's guys. I used to milk it for all it was worth. Wait for everybody to come out. Look, these are the Rangers. These are the Canadians, because when we step outside, we're from Mount Pearl, and I'm going to go over and have a beer in the corner. No one's going to know who I am. So, Ed, when you're that age, 19. But Gretzky came right out, and I used to go around with a little Kodak camera. That's why I got so many of these old pictures. Yeah. People would laugh at me, and I'm like, look, now there's cell phones. Everybody got them. But I had this little Kodak picture, like disposable, and Wayne came over, and he said, "Hey, Terry, is it?" I went, yeah. And he said, "Well, you're doing real well. I'm going to tell Mike you're doing real well." He goes, "Do you want a picture?" Like, he was aware of his greatness without being in my face, in anybody's face. He was just like, "Before you ask, you want a picture?" "Sure." And we got 4 of us in a row, and it's still at home, centerpiece of my wall of fame of sorts in my dad's basement.
Oh, I love it. We'll find out our next guest if you have a picture with him. He's pretty popular. He'll join us next on the Jason Gregor Show on Edmonton Sports Authority, Sports 1440.
A full-service provider of heavy haul transportation and rigging.
Hour brought to you by On the Rocks. There's something going on every day at OTR. On Monday, Bingo Tunes, Taco Tuesday, Karaoke on Wednesday, Salsa Night Thursday, and live music every weekend on the OTR stage with DJ Kenny K. On the Rocks, Jasper Ave, 118th.
Sports Radio is back. The Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
Rolling through a lovely Thursday afternoon. Jason Gregor, Terry Ryan with you as it's time to go around the NHL, brought to you by McDonald's. Enjoy your choice of a sausage or chicken McMuffin with a hash brown and a coffee for only $5 right now at McDonald's as we go around the NHL. Pretty good friend of TR's, good friend of the show. Has done, has made a lot of appearances in Edmonton, playing in the Pro-Ams. And fairly popular guy online. He was somebody for years who never hid his opinion on the former head coach of the Columbus Blue Jackets, stating numerous times that didn't think he was that good of a guy. Well, turns out he was pretty accurate. Mike Commodore joins us. Commie, welcome back to the show, my man. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good. Coach of the Columbus Blue Jackets that didn't even make it to camp.
Hey, before we get into that, Did you ever carry around a camera like TR did at camp and take photos of guys? And do you have like a collection of certain pictures that are very meaningful to you from your time in the show?
You know what? I heard Terry talking about that. I never did. I wish I did. I laughed at the Kodak thing. I did have, the last time I had a Kodak, I had one for a while. I didn't take it on the ice or anything. And then I lost it for, I don't know how long. I mean, I've moved around so many times, things get lost. And I saw it the other day and I haven't got it developed, but I don't even know if you can get that stuff developed anymore.
I don't either.
I should have, though. That's a great story, Terry.
You really should.
I can't remember it. You're right.
Hey, nice to chat finally too, Kami.
I know. Hey, we should have met up there 2 summers ago. Look, I don't want to act like Babcock and blame other people, but the fact we didn't meet up, that was Dan's fault. I was on Dan's program. He was hauling me around town. And then after, I mean, you know how it is. I had the time of my life. Just side note, it was great. But I'll tell you what, that was an experience. And once the sun started going down, things started getting a little foggy for me there. But it was a great time.
It's a spicy time of year. Big Bert was over again this year. Yeah, we had a good time. I'll catch you next time, I'm sure.
Yes, definitely.
So, Mike, well, let's just talk about it quickly for you. Like, I found it interesting how it was almost like people were offended that you said, "Hey, you know what? This is who Mike Babcock is." Now, you guys might not like how I'm presenting it, but this is who he is. I have lots of experience personally. I know lots of other guys that, he just doesn't treat people very well. They're like, "Oh yeah, whatever." And so, did you pop champagne? Like, what did it mean to you when it finally came out? When Paul Bissonnette, put the story out there, and obviously it came to fruition that clearly Babcock didn't change who he was.
Yeah, you know what? For me, this has been like, I'll be brutally honest. The last 7 or 8 years, ever since I started going after him, like I can't say that like I've had fun doing it. Like my Twitter mentions are just a catastrophe, especially when he was in Toronto. It wasn't like I was like super enjoying it, but I mean, I was, I had my experiences with him, which weren't even that many. But to be honest, I ended up I didn't see how far this was going to go, but I ended up speaking for a lot of guys that didn't want to have their name out there. And I'm like, man, I got to keep this going. And, there was a little vindication with the Toronto thing. And you know what? I mean, with this Columbus stuff, long story short, I had heard about a little bit of what was going on August 5th. And I had tweets ready to rock. And I'm like, the last second, I'm like, you know what? I'm like, I don't know if I should come firing out with this. Like, I'm viewed online because of the last 7, 8 years and the career that I had, that it's like, here's this plug defenseman that sour grapes because Babs scratched him. And this guy just has a vendetta out for Babs. So nobody really, I don't think that many people, at least people that don't know me, were like taking me seriously. So I didn't say anything, but I will say I woke up on that Tuesday morning when Biz came out with that podcast. And in my phone, I'm like, why do I have 60 messages on my phone? And I looked at it and it was like, did you see this? Did you see this? From all kinds of people. And when I saw what he said, it was exactly what I knew. And I was like, oh my God, here we go. And when I saw, there was pushback from the Blue Jackets and from Babcock, and there was some pushback behind the scenes from the NHLPA. And when I saw Biz like doubling and tripling down, I was literally fist pumping in here because I'm like, this is on now. Like, Biz has got his reputation. He's got that podcast reputation, which is a big deal. Like, he's not backing down. It's time for me to pile on. So I was happy to pile on. And I'm thankful for Biz. Like I said, I mean, obviously I'm happy, but there's a lot of people in the hockey world that are thrilled that this guy is gone. Justice, I mean, this guy, to keep the language PG, this guy's been a terrible person for 30 years, and he's either been lied for, covered for, he's been pumped up. Sure, he's had some success. Like, Mike Babcock can run a practice, and Mike Babcock knows hockey. As much as I'd like to trash him on everything, and I wouldn't be honest if I did that. He knows he can run a great practice, and he knows hockey. But other than that, he is an awful human being who treats people terribly. This was a long time coming, and justice was served.
My Commodore joins us. Go ahead, TR.
Okay, I want to know this, Kami. So I had a guy like that. I had Michel Therrien, and I had an equally rough time with him.
Yeah.
And I just didn't like the guy at all. I mean, years later, he hasn't surfaced as much, and I totally forgive him. It was a long time ago, I guess. But anyway, so just an example. So it's like my 7th or 8th game in the A. He was in the AHL coaching me, and he called me in for a meeting, and he said, sit down. So I sit down. He opens his pop, Coca-Cola, and he lights up a dart. And he just has the dart, and he starts staring at me. Like a minute goes by, and then I'm like, okay, he's not going to say anything. So I'm just going to stare right into his eyes, which is awkward, even if I stare into my daughter's eyes. Like it's awkward to stare in for like 5. So I just looked at him directly, tried not to blink. Sure, I did.
Yeah.
And he finishes the dart. He says, okay, get the F out of my room. And I'm like, weird. There was just a weird tactic. I went back in. It was just an example of some of the weird head games that were, you just wanted some power over you. Again, he could have changed. I don't really know at this point. I don't care. I'm alive. I'm happy. But my question to you is that if I had known that, it would have been hard for me ever again to sign with a team that he was coaching. Why did you go to Detroit? I'm looking like at your numbers. I've always known you're a good player. You had a good reputation. I'm sure you must have had other offers. No.
Well, so this is the my experience. Thankfully for me, my experiences with Babs are few and far between. And look, I understand everybody has coaches they don't like. Everybody gets screwed over by coaches. If you play long enough, it's coming. Other than maybe for guys like Nick Lidstrom or whatever, it's coming. I understand that. I understand careers, unless you're Nick Lidstrom, your career chances are is going to end quicker than you'd like. Like, I totally get that. For me, I had a run in with him early after my second year pro. Didn't go well, to put it shortly. My reason why I really, really dislike him and how I ended up in Detroit, long story short, after my 3rd year in Columbus, I got bought out. And so that's June 30th. Agent's like, hey, we might have to wait a while. Hopefully you get something. I'm like, okay, sounds good. So I'm prepared to wait, thinking it's going to be August or something like that. And literally the next morning, 5 minutes into free agency, agent calls me back. I'm literally like, what the hell does this guy want? I just talked to him yesterday. And I answer the phone, and he's like, I got a contract offer for you. I'm like, really? I'm like, what is it? He's like, 1 year, $1 million one way. It wasn't really about the money for me at that time. Once you get bought out, if you're lucky, you might get one more chance. After that, it's over. And I really don't care who you are. And I knew that. So I needed to make this decision count. So how it ended up happening, 5 minutes into free agency, he tells me 1 year, $1 million with Detroit. Immediately I say, there's no way I'm going to Detroit. Mike Babcock wants to end my career. My agent, whom I didn't have early in my career, didn't know any of this. He goes, well, what do you mean? So I tell him quickly. I'm like, can you just put him off? And he's like, look, Ken Holland just told me you have 15 minutes to make up your mind. You're either 15 minutes. You're either in or out. After 15 minutes, the contract's gone. So I'm sitting there. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, okay. I'm like, no other team is even, this is 5 minutes into free agency. Like, nobody else is even thinking about calling me for maybe a month or something like that. So I'm like, hey, I'm going to call you back. So I'm friends with Ken at this time. So I call Ken. I'm like, Ken, I'd love to play for you. I would love to play in Detroit. You know what I think of your head coach. I've been at your golf tournament ripping on him. Does he want me on your team or not? Ken goes, yeah. I go, do you believe him? He goes, yeah, I do this time. I go, are you sure? It's like, yes. I go, I love you, Ken, but I need his phone number. I got to talk to him. So I call Babs, and this is why I don't like him. I just said, hey, Babs. And he's like, hey, Commie. I'm like, Jesus, don't call me Commie. I'm not your buddy, but I kept that to myself.
Yeah.
And I go, look, real simple. Do you want me on the hockey team or not? I know this is my last chance. Am I going to get an opportunity? Yeah. We have no right-handed shots. You're going to get to play with Nick, blah, blah, blah. We need a physical presence. I'm like, seriously, Babs, like, this is it for me. I think I can still play a little bit, but I need to know I'm going to get an opportunity. I ripped you in the papers. Are you just having me end my career? He goes, no, I would never do that. We need you. I'd love to have you on the team, this and that. So anyways, I hang up the phone. I got 5 minutes left. Call my agent. He's like, what do you think? I'm like, he's going to screw me. And he's like, well, what do you say? He's like, wow, I'll play with Nick. He's like, Mike. And then now I start thinking, man, it would be nice to play with Nick Lidstrom. Just go, I got the puck. Here you go, Nick. And I'm getting 30 points, and maybe I'm signing another long-term deal. All I got to do is go, here you go. There you go, Nick.
Yeah.
So I had taken him at his word. I signed the contract, and I was out from I knew it as soon as I got to training camp. Maybe not as soon as I got there, but the season had started. I was scratched. The team wasn't doing, and it was just relentless scratches. He's blowing practices down when it's my turn to go. He's calling guys up from the minors to scratch me. I'm like, so that's why I hate Babs, because he was he had a chance, dude, just be honest. You don't like me, you don't want me on the team. That's totally fine. Give you an opportunity, just tell me. Why are you having me in to screw me over? So that's why I hate Babs.
Mike Commodore joins us.
That's
You know what?
Detroit, yeah.
Yeah, I get. But you did, because you were in Detroit, and then you did sign. Then you eventually got to Tampa Bay at the end. How to end that season for you, Mike? Were you mentally checked out at that point? How difficult was it for you, or were you just like, oh my God, I will sprint to Tampa?
I was ready to go. That's a good question. I played a little bit. Babs let me play in January, and I was starting to get into it. Then he scratched me again for 10 games. And Ken was just trying to do me a favor. He was like, man, I got to get this guy out of here. So he traded me to his buddy, Steve Yzerman, who I played for in the World Championships. Steve was happy to have me. At least Steve was honest with me when he had me into Tampa. They traded for me and two young defensemen. And he's like, Mike, as long as we're realistically kind of in the playoff hunt a little bit, you're going to play. But he's like, as soon as we aren't, I got to see these young guys. I'm like, yeah, that sounds good. Thank you for being honest with me. So that's, I hung in there for 10 games, and then we were kind of out of it. I wouldn't say I was mentally checked out. When I was in the lineup and I was working out, I was doing the extra stuff, but I will say I was probably getting there. The last year and a half of my, and look, I'm not the only one. I'm not this, like I said earlier, things don't end, as we all dream. I understand that, but yeah, I was definitely getting towards what am I doing?
Yeah. So Mike, you'd mentioned in early August, you'd heard what was going on. So obviously you got some people in Columbus. So now that it's occurred, how difficult is it? Boone Jenner, and I don't disagree that Boone Jenner, the quote he had was probably accurate, because I think Babcock, wolves in sheep clothing, of course he'd be super nice to the face of the captain because he wants the captain to think he's Joe Nice Guy, right? So, and I don't think he would tell the captain, hey, I'm really trying to intimidate our rookies. He wouldn't do that. So maybe Boone Jenner probably didn't know. Now, someone would say, well, he should know, and we can have a whole argument over that or not. But how do you think the players go from here now? Is there does Boone Jenner have to sit down and say, okay, guys, you know what? I'm sorry, I should have asked you. My job as a captain is to know kind of how everybody's doing. I don't know if that's realistic or not. How do you think they move forward as a group now?
Yeah, you know what? I think they're going to be, I guess, in two parts. One, with the Boone thing, I don't want to speak for him, and I don't know exactly what happened there, but I've gotten a little more information over the last week or so. What Babs was doing was to guys the veterans and Yarmo and basically anybody he didn't think he could prey on. His picture thing was, hey, do you have a picture? Could you maybe send it to me? I want to make a team collage for a team building exercise, which is totally fine. You don't have to resign. There's nothing wrong with that, 100%. Yep. But the problem is he was doing that with some guys, and then with kids at development camp, it was a completely, I don't want to say his name, but he's a very highly touted prospect. The last name starts with an F and ends with an I. Was over in his backyard, and he thought he was going over there for lunch. Babs just grabs his phone, opens it up, puts it on AirPlay, and is scrolling through his pictures, then tells the kid to leave. So that's what was going on. Is like he said, Mike Babs, he's a predator, and he's preying on people. He's trying to bully people that he knows he can get away with. But you know what? Moving forward, actually, I think this is probably. I think other than Babs knows hockey, I think it's a good thing for the Blue Jackets. As far as Boone, I think that's going to be fine. Like I said, I don't know exactly what he knew. If he knew all this was going on, he might have maybe some fences to mend slightly with maybe some of the younger guys. Be like, hey, look, I got put in a tough spot. I didn't know what to do. I think those kids will be like, yeah, it's okay. Babs is gone. So He never even made it to the ice service. So I think it's going to be all right. I think they're going to be fine. And speaking from somebody in the organization, the attitude around there is awesome, apparently. Like, they're fired up. They love the new guy. A couple of the people think the new guy actually should have got hired quite a while ago. So I think the Blue Jackets are going to be fine. I think it's something you can rally around, because right now, the Blue Jackets have just spent, the last couple of weeks or whatever, like, what is going on there, this and that. And I think it's a good opportunity for those guys to come together and be better than they were last year. I'm not saying they're going to go win the Stanley Cup, but compete for a playoff spot, be better than last year. I think that would be a very successful year for them.
Kami, I just saw Jesse Pollock post yesterday. He went on a trip to University of North Dakota. And he went into the dressing room, and he showed the dressing room, which is unbelievable. Now, I'm sure it's a little bit different than when you were there, but you went there for 4 years. You won a national championship. Were the accommodations state of the art at the time? And what was it like? Part B of this question. I know when I came into the NHL and like guys like Dave Manson were there, like Andy Moog, like I was like, man, these guys seem like 80 years old, like grizzled veterans. And you come in, not only Jim McKenzie, but your defense and Ken Danico, Scott Stevens are there. These guys are grizzled. They're the definition. Like, how was it to go from one to the other immediately into the Devils dressing room? It must have been wild, was it?
Oh, yeah, it was an experience. First part of the question, North Dakota, that rink was not there when I was there. The old rink, I thought the new rink is beautiful. You saw the videos, like,
I couldn't believe it.
And it, like watching the game there, like that rink should be in Las Vegas. It shouldn't be in Grand Forks, North Dakota. Like, leather seats, like, it's unbelievable, and it's a great place to go watch a game. I will say, though, the old rink, it was way more old school. There was nothing like that. It was just a regular old rink. But, like, it was like visiting teams, when they come into North Dakota now, like, they can't wait to get there. Like, it's beautiful, massive rink. Like, it's not really that intimidating because people aren't right on top of you. Where, like, the old rink, it was 65, maybe 7,000 people right on top of you, students breathing down your neck. Like, the teams hated coming in there. Like we got to get out of here. And we had good teams when I was there, so it was a lot of fun. And then going from there to New Jersey, yeah, I mean, they had just won the Stanley Cup in 2000, so that was back then. Lou Lamoriello, there was no collective bargaining against this training camp. Like, unless you were like a seasoned veteran, you were at camp August 1st. So, like, Scott Gomez was there. He just won the Rookie of the Year in a Stanley Cup. Colin White was there. He just won a Stanley Cup, and that was like his third or fourth year pro, I think. Those guys were at this camp. So meeting those guys was incredible. And then once you got to main camp, yeah, it's like, Scott Stevens, Ken Danico, Brian Rafalski was just kind of getting going, but he was unreal in the playoff. Colin White was a big deal. Like, Scott Niedermayer that year, showed up. Oh my, like, the decor was a joke. Scott Niedermayer showed up. Him and Jason Arnott were holding out. Scott Niedermayer, I'll never forget this. So I'm at camp August 1st doing two-a-days. We're now towards the end of September. I'm in, like, the best shape I've ever been in. Like, I mean, this is the peak for me. And I've been skating. I'm out there longer. I ended up being one of the last cuts. And Arnott and Niedermayer signed their contract. So they come in. It's like a couple days left in camp, and then the regular season's going to start. So these guys get on the ice for the first time, and I hadn't met them yet. But Jason Arnott's a big deal too. But Scott Niedermayer, defenseman, I'm like, this guy's unreal. So they're like, well, we're going to skate these guys and make sure. So I'm a younger guy, so I got to skate and stay out late. So we do this skating, and it was so hard. Well, for me. So I'm going as hard as I can. I'm totally soaked. I'm like watching out of the corner of my eye. I'm like, Niedermayer, like, this guy is flying around here. And I'm like, is this guy even trying? So he's flying around, no big deal. We get back into the locker room. I still hadn't met him yet, and I was on the other side of the locker room. They had those baby blue, like, Cooperall undershirts back then. And I'm sitting there, like I said, I might as well have grabbed all my gear and jumped in the shower and stood in the shower for 10 minutes. I'm soaked. And I'm sitting there, and I look over. He's across the room. He comes in. He's like, hey, guys, good to see you guys. And he takes his upper body gear off, and all he had was one little trickle of sweat. Just like, I mean, the slightest trickle. And I remember sitting there being like, how am I supposed to compete with that? Like, this guy The game was so easy for him. He was so talented. It was insane.
Oh, Scott Niedermayer was unbelievably talented player. Like, what?
Yeah.
He could still play if he really wanted to.
It was he was one of those guys like when he skated, Mike. Like, he looked effortless, to be honest. Like, he was one of those really light guys on his feet.
Yeah. I mean, he toned it down. We had him on our podcast a while ago, and like he had to make some changes because he was, New Jersey was playing like a more defensive style, and he was used to, when Kamloops just gone. But yeah, he was incredible. I mean, how incredible he is. Like back then with Lou Lamoriello, like unless you were a star or a potential star, you started your career in the minors. Like there was none of this. Oh, well, we're going to dress him and he can get things going here. You had to be a star. And the only two people that I can think of kind of from my time frame a little bit that didn't play a game in the minors was Scott Niedermayer and Scott Gomez. Other than that, everybody was in the minors.
Commie, always good to see you, man. Great to catch up. We appreciate your time. And one last one for you. Mike Commodore, 2007, had an unbelievable career year with the Carolina Hurricanes, potting 7 goals and 29 points. Double every year except one. So which defenseman do you see who's poised to have a crushing offensive season this year in the NHL that's maybe unexpected? Who's the Mike Commodore breakout point defender this year?
God. I don't know if this is going to be off the top of my head, and I got to be honest, I have a little catching up to do. But off the top of my head, and this the North Dakota stuff kind of comes up a little bit. And I know he signed a big contract, so it's not like it's like totally under the radar. But that Jake Sanderson kid in Ottawa is real.
Yeah.
Like I saw him play. I know it's college hockey and everything. I saw him play a few years ago when he was a freshman at North Dakota. And I was sitting there and having some beers and BSing and stuff. But I was watching the game too. And I'm watching it and I'm just like, Jesus, who's that? After like a period and a half, I'm like, I think he might have been, I can't remember number 5 or I don't remember what number he was, but I'm like, who is that? And they're like, oh, a freshman, Sanderson, Jeff Sanderson's kid. I'm like, Jesus, that guy is good. And I think, so he's maybe slightly under the radar, but I think he is going to be real good for a long time.
Awesome stuff, Commie. We'll have to talk to you again soon, man. We appreciate it.
Thanks, boys. Good to see you.
That is Mike Commodore, former NHLer. And always like Commie because he's straight up and honest, not afraid to give his opinion. We'll come back with 5 questions on The Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca, live on Sports 1440.
Christensen Communities, the name
baby.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Crystal Glass, the clear choice for all your auto, residential, and commercial glass. Call 310 Glass or book now at crystalglass.ca.
Sports Radio is back. The Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
Jason Gregor, Terry Ryan, Connor Halley with you. We're a little bit late because of, we want to keep my Commodore on a little bit longer. It was great. So let's get to 5 questions now, brought to you by The Brick. Buy more, save more, give more. Portion of the proceeds are going to the local children's hospital. You can get 40% off mattresses with up to 30% off select sofas and sectionals, and you can help out the children's hospital. Check it out at The Brick and thebrick.com.
It's time for 5 questions on the Jason Gregor Show.
All right, guys, question number 1 for the Oilers. 3 games into the preseason, 5 left. In your opinion, how many games would be the perfect amount for an NHL preseason?
Yeah.
6. I think you know what? It's fine. You want 1 or 2 where you've got some young guys. You got to give them a taste. I think there's some importance to that a little bit because even though half the lineup might be AHL or junior, still going to be some NHL guys in there, and so it can be a thrill, but also it'll be a test. So I would say 6.
I think there's way too many games as it is. I'd cut them in half the whole way. So let's say 4 back-to-back weekend series. There you go.
Question number 2, with Vasilevsky missing the first 2 months of the season with the back surgery, just how much of an impact do you think that will have for the Lightning?
Okay. Given their options being Jonas Johnson, is it, and Matt Tompkins, I don't know. I think I am worried. I answered this differently, and then I thought about it. I don't know, man. Last year, how did they make the playoffs? By like 8 points? That's like 4 games. Vasilevsky's like a rock star. He's arguably, a lot of people would put him the best in the league, but again, they're aging, and these guys, I don't know, they're unproven. Is it a panic? No, but I'm 1 step away from panic.
Well, you know what? Something tells me that they're going to be claiming a goalie off of waivers. There's lots of veteran goalies out there, and guys who knows, they might unearth the next Anton Forsberg. The goalie position is so voodoo. I think they will be able to find a guy who's currently a 3rd stringer on some teams, and he'll come in. Not that he's going to be great at all, but remember, at this time last year, people were like, Aiden Hill, why? And then Aiden Hill went on to win a Stanley Cup after Brossoit got injured. So I think Tampa has enough that they'll be okay. I think this probably really lowers their chances of winning the division or getting home ice because it's only 2 months. But I think they'll be able to keep their head above water because they got so many other great players.
Question 3, since we had Josh Palmer on the show today, do you have a favorite Canadian in the NFL, past or present?
TR?
I'm going to go with Luke Wilson. I know he played baseball. He's a great athlete all around. I know he played hard, played through pain, seemed to be a bit of a leader. I've seen him a lot in the media world. Seems like he has his head on his shoulders, and I really started watching the game kind of when he played, so I can't speak for many people before it, although even though he's not Canadian, I got caught up in the whole Flutie thing way back when it happened, and he represented Canada, so there's a close second for me.
Man, there's a few good options here. Obviously, Chuba Hubbard locally. How can you not? We've had him in studio. We've had him on the show. He's an absolute beauty. But I'm also going to go with the doctor, Laurent Duvernay-Tardif. Just, what he did, the decisions he made. And he was a pretty good player for, kind of came out of nowhere, won a ring with KC. So I will go with the doctor.
Question number 4, when it comes to NHL personalities, we've had a couple of heavyweights on the station in the last 2 days. Commodore, Biz Nasty yesterday morning with Carius. When you think of the great NHL personalities, who would be atop your list?
For me, like the great personalities of all time, and I did have him on a podcast I hosted with 2 guys a few years ago, Eddie Shack. He was a great guest. Like I've never met anybody like that, and everybody I talked to from that era, the first person that they answer that question with is Eddie Shack. From today, I do a lot of alumni events, and Ally Afraidy and Andre Roy are really outgoing, humorous guys that love interacting with the fans, and they usually got something unique to say.
Some good choices. I'm going to go Dave Tiger Williams on ice, because on ice, he was an absolute entertainer. No question. Personality off the ice. Man, I've worked with a lot of good ones, honestly. Guys who, just funny for different reasons. And I'm not saying this because he's on here, but TR is a really funny dude, man. Anybody who saw him at Kevin Lowe's roast, he crushed it. Strutty we worked with for many years. I'd put his personality up against a lot. He's a funny dude. He's average looking, but he's a really funny dude.
Final question for you guys. On this day in 1995, Mary Tyler Moore's show New York News, which I have no idea what it is, was canceled after only 8 episodes. But it did lead me to this question. Which TV show do you think was canceled way too soon?
Okay, well, I'm going first, TR, because I'm telling you, I don't know if you've seen this show. You probably missed it. It was one of the greatest cinematic performances ever. The idea of the show was unbelievable. The characters that they developed in such a short period of time was unprecedented. Has never been.
Can I take a guess at what you're going to say? Just keep going.
It's never been done since, unfortunately. So, yeah, okay, give me your guess.
I'm going to guess Freaks and Geeks.
No.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit before that. It was Manimal. Manimal is one of the greatest. I'm seeing you look at your face. What? Manimal was unbelievable. It was a man, TR, the main character, and then he would turn into like a Black Panther or different. It was unbelievable. I used to watch it as a teenager on Friday nights. It was only lasted 1 year. It was still, think about it, in 1 year, Manimal is still that memorable to me. So completely cut short, way too early. Amazing show.
Oh, wow. I was aware of it. I never saw one episode. I thought it was a great name. I used to call my roommate up for it.
You really missed out.
Well, maybe is there a way I can go down and go back and watch it? I will.
I've looked for it. I've yet to find it. If anybody can show me where I can find an episode of Manimal, I would love to show my son.
For me, you said cut too short, right? Not just one season?
Yeah, just cut. Anyone that was edited too short.
I think Arrested Development, they got it back on the go with Netflix, but I think at first when it came around, 3 seasons, all almost perfect, and I think it flew over a lot of people's heads. Not that I'm some brilliant, film watcher. I just mean I really do. I think you had to pay attention, watch it in order, and social media was coming, and I don't think a lot of people just really understood how good it was. But number 1 for me would probably be Deadwood. I didn't see the end of that coming. I really, really, really liked the show, and I was in on all levels. Arrested Development's my favorite comedy, but everything else, it's light fluff other than that. Deadwood is, I don't know, it could be my favorite show ever, and I didn't see the end coming.
Before I let go, TR, Cam Tate had sent me a note that I didn't read earlier after your Ryan's rant, and I forgot because we went to break, but I wanted to. Hey, tell TR, just be thankful I'm not the video review operator for reviewing goals. It would take a day from Cat. Now, I don't know if you know if you've ever met Tater or not, but anyway, Tater's in a wheelchair. He's got cerebral palsy. He does the 2-minute warning on our shows Mondays and Fridays. It's an absolute beauty. And he's got a pretty good sense of humor. So just wanted you to know that it could be worse. He could have been the guy reviewing.
I'd like to, I know Tater, who you're talking about. Tell him I hope to meet him soon when I come out west at some point.
We'll have to plan to get you out here soon.
I'll make it happen.
All right. Well, TR, buddy, get some sleep. It's a big day tomorrow. Big day of the launch, season 2 of Shoresy. Very much looking forward to it. So have fun. Pace yourself at the watch party, and we'll talk about it on Monday.
Looking forward to it. Tales with TR tomorrow featuring Corey Hirsch. Stay tuned.
Oh, nice. There you go. Tales with TR. Check out his podcast. Let's get to Connor Halley, and it's Sports 1440 update brought to you by Edmonton Kubota. Stop in right now. You can get great deals. 0% financing for 84 months on all compact BX tractors. You can shop in-store at 156th Street or online at edmontonkubota.com. Here's Connor Halley.
This is a Sports 1440 update.
Week 4 in the NFL kicking off tonight. The Packers hosting the Detroit Lions. Starting at 6:15. You can watch it with our very own Brandon Douglas at the Lewis Estates Canadian Brew House. Blue Jays in action tonight. Big game taking on the New York Yankees. First pitch in about 4 minutes time. Elsewhere around the majors, a couple games going on right now. Heading into the 4th, the Phillies and Pirates tied at 1 apiece. And in the second, the Orioles leading the Red Sox 1-0. Still to come tonight, Marlins take on the Mets, Braves host the Cubbies, Dodgers in Colorado, and the Mariners hosting the Rangers. Some finals, Athletics knocked off the Twins 2-1. It was the White Sox over the Diamondbacks 3-1, Royals falling to the Tigers 7-3, and the Brewers blank the Cards 3-0. Tampa Bay Lightning goaltender Andrei Vasilevsky underwent successful back surgery today. He'll miss the first 2 months of the regular season. He played in 60 games last year with a record of 34, 22, and 4. 6 games on the ice tonight in the NHL's preseason. The Penguins host the Sabres. Red Wings take on the Caps. Devils in New York to take on the Rangers. Wild up against the Avalanche. The Blues in Chicago, and the Kraken hosting the Vancouver Canucks. And in the AJHL showcase down in Calgary, earlier today, Whitecourt blanked Drumheller 3-0. GP gets past Camrose 4-3 in a shootout. Coming up in a couple minutes here, Bonnyville takes on Drayton Valley. And at 8 o'clock, it's Lloydminster taking on Okotoks. Coming up in hour 4 of the Jason Gregor Show, we'll be joined by Sportsnet's Mark Spector. Then we'll speed things up in the Cantork Racing Report with Colin Livingston. I'm Connor Halley. This has been a Sports 1440 update.
Sports 1440 in West Edmonton Mall and Wetaskiwin. CKJ back. The Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
I can be saved. Tides that I tried to swim against put me down upon my knees. Oh, I beg and please, singing.
Welcome back. Jason Gregor. Connor Halley with you. Declan Kruger on Sports 1440. You know, like there's some, like people, I really appreciate people when they just have subtle, funny humor. And we were listening to the mock Mike Babcock press conference when Babcock breaks his sign. And for those of you who haven't heard it, we're going to play it coming up because, oh my goodness, it is the line. We don't say sorry in the Babcock household. Like, you got to see the whole premise. Oh my goodness. Like, what a dick. But it's funny, man. Welcome back to the show. Jason Gregor, Connor Halley with you on Sports 1440 presented by PlayAlberta.ca. It's time for the Spec Report. I'm not sure if Specs watches, but I know his sense of humor, man. He would love it. Spec Report brought to you by GS Construction. And they know that it's no laughing matter when you are stuck in traffic and there's lots of construction. But hey, be safe, be patient. They want to get everything finished so you can get back on the road. It's GS Construction. As Mark Spector joins us once again. Spec, have you seen those mock Mike Babcock videos?
Yeah, that guy does a great Mike Babcock. You got to give him credit. You got to watch it. Like, you can listen to it and it'll be good on your show, but you got to see the guy's face because he makes all the same facial gestures that Babcock makes. He's really good, whoever that guy is. He does a hell of Mike Babcock for sure.
Wow, just the lines and how he talks about it. Oh man, it's like I probably shouldn't laugh because you know what? Obviously, there's some people that Johan Franzen and others that you know what, he went way too far with. But in this situation, what they're talking about in Columbus, just how it goes down, it was. Sometimes you got to laugh at that situation like that, and I thought that was very well done. The Edmonton Oilers last night, hey, it's preseason hockey, Spec. I don't get too caught up in the score. You know, that they get to overtime. You got McDavid and Draisaitl on the ice, and Evan Bouchard fires a perfect quick pass. McDavid jumps off the bench. No one picks him up. No one's catching him, and it's game over. And so the Oilers win. You know, there was long stretches of a ho-hum. Nothing's happened in that game, which I get. But what were your thoughts on Connor Brown, his first game in 11 months?
Well, when a guy's coming off an ACL like him, I just want to see a guy that keeps up. And there's no issue there. He's as fast as any guy. I mean, relatively speaking, as fast as any guy out there. He's not lagging. He seems to be able to. I'm watching him. I watched him 4 or 5 shifts and, just focused on him. Stops and starts, quick turns, doesn't do the big loop, right? He hits the brakes, goes the other way when the puck goes there. All the things you want to see out of a guy that proves to you that the skating's not an issue. I think I think we saw this on the practice ice, Jay. We saw it at captain skates. We've seen it in camp. So there's still going to be a lag in any player who's missed an entire season. The quickness of the game. I think what do they always say, Jay? The game's going so fast when you get out there for the first few times. There's a period of time for the game to slow down, even for an NHLer like Connor Brown, but he seems to be well on his way. I don't see how this is going to be take 3 months for him to get up to game speed here.
No, I wouldn't think so. And we'll hear from Connor Brown coming up after you actually had a conversation with him today outside the Oilers dressing room. And you know what? He said it was just kind of a relief. You get through that first game and there's lots of excitement. And you know what? Now it's just about, getting your timing to where you want to be and different things like that. What'd you make of Stuart Skinner? And what, we talked about it the other day on the split rotation. Jack Campbell, I think to start the season, Spec, it's pretty clear that Skinner's a starter. He's been in the starter's net in practice all the time. He got the first game. Campbell will play Friday. Skinner probably plays Saturday. And, then we'll play again. They'll probably each get 3 games here down the stretch. But when I look at Stu Skinner, He had a pretty good year last year, right? Like he was 14th in save percentage as a rookie. Like, what's a realistic expectation of a season for Stuart Skinner?
Well, I guess I look at it two ways. I've seen a lot of sophomore jinxes. So I think if you told me starting right now, he's going to have the exact same regular season stats and be the exact same goal, I'd take it right this second if I'm the Edmonton Oilers, right?
Okay.
Because a lot of guys, this isn't me predicting anything. I'm not saying anything about Skinner, but a lot of second-year guys have a hard time doing what they did in the first year. So listen, 14th in the league in save percentage, what's wrong with that? That's good enough, man. We said the other day, Aiden Hill wasn't anywhere close to that, and he's wearing a Stanley Cup ring. So that's a place to start. A little bit more consistent, right? A little, his season was interrupted last year. He had a baby boy, his wife did, and now he's been around the league. He knows what to expect. I guess the improvement I like to see is to see him look like a little bit more of a veteran goalie, and he's got such a calm demeanor, Jay. Right? He's such a, he's a thinker. He's a pretty old soul, I guess you'd say. I have no doubts about this kid. I know why they want him to be their number one. Let's face it. Is Jack Campbell going to finish this contract as an Edmonton Oiler? Chances are probably not. Stu Skinner's the goalie of the future in this city, and he's going to start out as the number one this year. Absolutely.
Nurse and Bouchard, if you start them together, do you play Ekholm in your second pair with either Desharnais or Broberg, or do you put Ceci with Ekholm?
No, I like what they're doing. I like Ceci and Kulak. I think they're a real good PK unit. That's a nice third pairing. That's your third pairing. I think you're in pretty good shape. Sure, the guy that's playing with Ekholm is a bit of a question mark here, right? If I'm Dave Manson, I'm thinking, can I get Ekholm the minutes I want to get Ekholm while tagging him with a partner in Desharnais or Broberg? Or is this going to cost Ekholm some ice time, right? Because I don't want to cost Ekholm any ice time. So that's the puzzle, the piece of the puzzle. There's one sort of weak piece of this puzzle, and we all know where it stands. It's a second pairing right side guy. I think the Oilers would love it to turn into Broberg. I think it might be more likely it turns into Desharnais, but I guess we're going to find out, hey?
It's interesting, and where it starts could be very different. Like, it might not be Phil Broberg on October 11th. That doesn't mean it can't be Phil Broberg in December or February, right? Like, it's a long season, right? Vincent Desharnais wasn't here last year and ended up being a decent player for them down the stretch and into the playoffs. So you never know what can happen, of course, for certain guys and where they're going to fit in and where they're not. Did you see anything either way? Lane Peterson, Brandon Sutter, do you see an advantage, or is Raphael Lavoie still in the mix? Because, those two didn't really do anything to cement it for themselves.
Said it too many times. Brandon Sutter, if Brandon Sutter is Brandon Sutter, those other two guys, there's no room on the roster for them, right? And Brandon Sutter looked like Brandon Sutter last night. He won important faceoffs on the 5-on-3. That's where that 5-on-3 faceoff, 20 seconds left in the first penalty. That used to be, I know it's preseason, but that has always been Leon Draisaitl's face-off, right?
Yep.
And if I'm Woodcroft, what I want is someone else to throw over the boards on the 5-on-3, not wearing number 29, who can get the job done. Last night, Sutter got the job done. If he gets that job done, if he's going to save some hard PK minutes for Leon Draisaitl, those other guys, I don't care how well Peterson plays, he's not beating out Sutter. And unfortunately for Lavoie, he's the 22nd guy on a 21-man roster. It's hard. I mean, if there's an injury, he'll stay. If there isn't an injury, I just don't possibly see a scenario by which he'll stay. The one thing I'm hoping, Jay, the one thing that if I could have my way with something this year, I hope we don't see much of this 11-7. I can't stand 11-7. I don't like the way you take a guy like Broberg or Desharnais and make him your seventh defenseman and he gets 3 minutes. I don't think that helps anybody. I don't like the way you start two orphan wingers and you give them a few shifts in the first period, and then McDavid gets too much ice time and Draisaitl, and you set him on the end of the bench and you don't use him again. I can't stand 11-7, Jake.
I agree if it has guys that are not that involved, right? 3 minutes and 5 minutes. If you find a way where you're well, no, there was games in the regular season where you would see guys getting 10, 11, but usually it was a game when you're winning. So I think when you're winning, it's a lot easier, and that's a way to do it. In the playoffs, though, when you got no time for tomorrow, right? So the minute distribution in the playoffs was much different, I thought, than in the regular season a lot of times. But I think it's fair, right? Like some guys definitely don't like it, but I do know that some of the wingers at times, Clean Costin's like, ooh, I get to play in 8 minutes, and 3 or 4 of them are with Draisaitl and McDavid. That's pretty fun.
Yeah, okay. I mean, sure, when he got to 8 minutes, but I'll tell you, I remember a lot more games where those two wingers got lost in the shuffle, and whoever that poor seventh defenseman was, his ice time ended up with starting with a 3 or a 4. And you just can't tell me that you can play hockey playing 4 minutes out of 60. Like, you just don't tell me you're going to send a guy over the boards about 7 times the entire game. He's not even going to have a sweat going on any of them. And you're going to say, play well. That guy doesn't have a chance to play well. Jay, start polling defensemen privately, quietly. If you have defensemen on your show, like Struddy and any other guy, make your question, do you like 11 and 7 or do you detest it? And I'm telling you, 90% of the guys can't stand it. Defensemen, they hate 11 and 7.
Hey, I don't discount it. I agree with you on that one wholeheartedly. Like Struddy, although it's funny, Struddy said he didn't like it a lot of times, but last year he felt like, you know what? He didn't mind it at certain times when Broberg was getting 10 minutes, 11, he thought it was fine. When it was down to 3, he didn't like it. So, and that's obviously the challenge in how they're going to kind of go with it long term. They're going to play in Calgary tomorrow. And Jack Campbell is going to start. They're going to be in Vancouver. I'm guessing it's going to be Skinner. Then they got a little team outing. They're going to actually have a pickleball tournament in between Vancouver and Seattle. And according to Stuart Skinner,
are they going to fly Craig Button in to referee?
Oh, they might. But according to Stu Skinner, him and Ekholm are rated 1-2. So we'll see.
Right.
Yeah, I asked him yesterday, and then Curtis Brown said, "Well, I'm not going to say where I'm ranked. I'll just tell you guys that I will come in. I will surprise people. I'll be ranked lower than I should, and I'm going to be very good." These guys are competitive, and it's funny. A lot of them were playing pickleball, and Brown even said, "You know what? We played in my cabin in the summer." So it would be interesting to see who's going to win that. But they made some cuts today. Lots of young guys that we weren't surprised by any stretch of the imagination. I would expect them to have a few more cuts after the game on Friday night or before they leave on Saturday. McLeod and Ekholm, I found out in conversation today that they're both trending in the right direction. They're not going to play this weekend, but they think that, both guys should have time to get ready for at least 1 or 2 preseason games. At what point do you have any sort of, like, if Ekholm doesn't play in the preseason, is that when you're like, And if he gets into one game, you're like, this is fine. Where do you come out on him? McLeod, I think, is probably going to be back a little bit quicker, maybe, and he's not as old.
Yeah, well, but he needs listen, let's work backwards. We know for sure. What do we know for sure? We know for sure that the Oilers want Ekholm and McLeod to have 2 games. Everybody wants 2 games, not just one. Everybody wants 2. So if they don't get 2, it's not because it's somebody's preference. It's because they're not ready. So you know what? If McLeod sounds like he's going to get 2, that's enough. 2's enough. That's all he needs. He's in great shape. That's all he needs. Even if Ekholm gets 1, I'm not going to freak out. But you should know, right? You should know that if he only gets 1, this thing's lasted a lot longer than you thought. And if he gets none, that's a problem. If he's missed the entire camp and doesn't even get a preseason game, that's not the way you want a pillar on your defense to start a season. But you know what, Jay, I'm going to say this to you too. He's a veteran. He's an older guy. To me, it's more important that he gets his rest and he's healthy than that he gets in preseason games. This guy can go without preseason games. He'll figure it out. He's got to be healthy. Don't start him hurt. Don't start him with some nagging thing that's going to last through November and go into December. Don't do that. If you got to sit him for another 3 weeks, sit him for 3 weeks and get him healthy.
Spec, great stuff, buddy. Are the Jays going to wake up today?
Oh, boy, they haven't scored a run yet. The guy they're starting, the Yankees are starting, I've never heard of, but I think I might have played against him in the Sunburst League once. So I'm going to tell you, I forget his name, but he is a nobody. If they can't get a run off this cat, they better pack their bags and go away for the winter.
Luke Weaver.
That's the guy.
Luke Weaver. Yes. So there you go.
You got a Luke Weaver baseball card in your hip pocket, Jay, or what?
I do not know. Connor Halley yelled it into my ear. So
there you go.
He's a huge Luke Weaver fan.
All right, Jay, have a great night.
You too. That's Mark Spector from Rogers Sportsnet. When we come back, we'll hear from Connor Brown, Leon Draisaitl, and more on the Jason Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
There's 2 seasons in Alberta: winter
We're brought to you by Papa John's. Try their new one-topping garlic or spicy garlic epic stuffed crust for just $21.99 for a limited time only at papajohns.ca.
Sports Radio is back. The Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
Welcome back to the Jason Gregor Show alongside Connor Halley. We're gonna get to the fantasy report now, brought to you by Next Gen Transportation, heavy haul transport provider, 100% locally owned and operated. It's nextgentransportation.com. And usually, we give a lot of fantasy numbers, but today it's like a fantasy interview. In case you missed it, the real Joey Mayo is the creator of this, and I need you to pay attention right from the start. Okay? So get yourself in a Zen position where you're going to really absorb everything, because there's a lot to take in here in the next 2.5 minutes. This was Joey's version of Mike Babcock, if indeed he came out and had a press conference after what happened in Columbus. I want you to listen very closely to the start, because that really sets the tone. The very first line of this, I think it's brilliant. So here it is.
Mike, can I get my phone back?
Oh, yeah, sure. Look like a fun vacation.
All right, let's get right into this. You took the past 3.5 years off to rehabilitate yourself. Do you feel like you made improvements?
Driggs, I need to be better. I needed to be better. Okay, so I did a lot of bear hunting with my family. I drive a Ford F-150, always have. I don't even want to call it a rehabilitation process. It was more of a recharge. Rehabilitation would suggest there was something wrong with me. There wasn't. I just needed to be better, and I'm better now.
Hi, Mike. Elliot Friedman, Sportsnet. Don't you feel like going through players' phones may have been an invasion of privacy?
Well, you see, the thing is, Ellie, is these are good boys with bright futures, and who could hopefully become good people one day. Mm-hmm. We aim to build good people here, make them better people. Mm-hmm. Steady on the rudder. Mm-hmm.
Hi, Aaron Portsline from The Athletic. There was a report that you had a player over your house for lunch, but instead of feeding him, you went through his phone for 5 straight minutes instead.
Well, the thing is, sure, yeah, no. Mm-mm.
Was that a yes or a no?
Yeah, no.
Never mind. So what did you expect to find on these phones?
It's a process, Porty. And these are good players, but they need to be better. They needed to be better. And I got a little more than I bargained for, not going to lie. Learn which guys were circumcised and which guys weren't. It's a great way to get to know your team, though. Sure.
I'm failing to see how that's relevant to coaching.
Yeah, and how many cups have you hoisted?
Hi, Steve Conroy, Boston Herald. Got one question for you. What the were you thinking?
That's a great question, Steve. And it's about the journey, and it's about being alive. And the journey for Mike Babcock started out as a young boy hunting bear in Moose Jaw. It's a process, hunting bear, just like anything. And what I think about a lot is the message to our kids. We have to create an environment that's safe for players. And Mike Babcock has a burning desire to win. So I go home and I love my family, and I come back here and I love the guys. How's that? That answer your question?
Not one bit. Are you at all sorry for what you did?
We don't say sorry in the Babcock household. We just say we need to be better.
We're all out of time. Thanks for all the insight, Mike.
This ain't the end of Babber. I'll be back. Steady on that rudder.
Oh my goodness. There is a lot to take in that interview. Like, real Joey Mayo, I applaud you, man. That's some good humor. Trav F-150. Always have. Oh, man. It's like it was so dumb at times. That's what makes it funny. To me, that's what made it quite funny. So there you go. Now, let's get to Connor Brown. Of course, caught up with Connor today. He hasn't played a game in almost a full calendar year. Of course, he got injured in the 4th game of the season last October in Washington, and then rehabbed, trained all summer, and of course didn't play in the first 2 preseason games. Did get into one last night. And I asked him, is it like a mental release or is it just a relief to get back on the ice and feel good?
I think more relief than anything. It's just it was a long road back, and to be back on the grind again and back playing games. It's just I feel grateful to be there. He kind of puts it all in perspective when it's kind of taken away from you. So I just enjoyed it yesterday. It was a step in the right direction.
Is it pace? Is it making small plays in a small amount of time? What do you feel is the toughest thing to get back when you haven't played a game in 11 months?
Well, I think it's a combination of everything. Adjusting to the pace, adjusting to making plays, stopping in your D zone, like little things that are ingrained in you when you're in the season, and when you're kind of playing in the summer, it's a little different. So, I thought it was, I thought I made some good little plays and some plays that I need to improve upon. But like I said, it was just really fun to be back out there, and it was a step in the right direction.
I know you guys have a pickleball tournament coming up this weekend. Stuart Skinner was ranking guys, and had himself and Ekholm at the top. Where does Connor Brown rank in the pickleball rankings?
Listen, I'm going to keep my rankings low and surprise a few people, but I can play. So we'll see. We'll see where I land.
Are you more of a net guy? Are you better from the baseline? Where are you?
Yeah, I like to push the pace. I like to either throw it back and then go, hey, it's just pickleball I love is because it's a bit of a game of strategy. So it's fun. We play up at my cottage a little bit. It's a fun game. It'll be a good team builder.
How important is it for you? Obviously, some of these players, but having a unified team is probably underrated at times and how it allows guys to have success. How important is that upcoming weekend for you just to get to know the guys maybe on a different level?
Yeah, no, you know what? Coming in here, I've been able to get comfortable pretty quickly, which is pretty important for me to be able to kind of play my game as well. And so, I'm grateful for that. And, the guys that I'd known prior to have made me feel comfortable, and all the guys have really accepted me here early. And so it's been a great transition for me.
And lastly, a lot of the staff has the new staff unis on, looking like guys who could change tires. They're working at the tire shop. Could Connor Brown change his own tire?
Oh God, I don't think so. Nope. No, I would need some help, but no, I don't think I would be in trouble if I popped the tire.
It's unbelievable. The staff, it's like they're working at Jiffy Lube right now. It's amazing. They're in there. You know what? The change in oil. You need an oil change. It's fantastic. Like, I like it. It's great. Because it's got like their name tag. You know how when you work at the place and it's got stitched on your left side, Cons, and it's like a small, kind of like a oval semicircle small.
Classic look.
It's got the name tag in there. Oh, they're unreal. I should have snapped a photo of it today. It was amazing.
So which staff is wearing these?
Well, all the trainers and equipment guys and the PR guy, Sean May, was wearing his today. So, oh yeah, they're beauty. Right? It's like, I guess it's a little bit of play on words on oil change.
Yeah.
Is what I'm guessing. So it looks pretty good.
I always wanted one of those, like a jumpsuit with my name on it.
A jumpsuit or coveralls?
Coveralls.
I have a pair of coveralls from Premium Oilfield Inspection still with the name on it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Mine even has the last initial, not first and last name, because there's a lot of Jasons. So
Jason G.
Jason G. Mm-hmm.
I think it's a classic look. Anything you got to do around the house,
buddy, it's
throw
amazing.
It on.
That was great. Like when you work at a place like that, you don't want to wear someone else's coveralls.
No,
it's pretty personal. It's like wearing someone else's underwear. It's gross. You're not doing it. Like, give me a break. So you don't want to share coveralls.
Yeah, you can tell I've never worked in a job like that by my use of jumpsuit instead of coveralls, right?
Yeah. Well, I didn't want to say much there.
No.
Have you ever had anything dirty under your fingernails?
No.
No, it doesn't sound like it. Like when you have to hesitate, I know the answer.
I'm trying to think. Yeah. Changed a tire before, but haven't done it professionally. So no, I'm Pretty clean.
All right. Well, maybe we'll have to get you to work at Cantork one time.
Yeah.
Get you in there. Oh.
Put me on the social media side or something.
Yeah, the old battery-powered nut runners. See if you can run some of those. We'll see. We'll speed things up in the final segment on a busy Thursday edition of the Jason Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca. A lot of text flying in at 833-401-1440. Oh my goodness, guys! Thanks for the laugh. That was awesome from JR. Even Babcock should like that voice. You got to have a sense of humor. Hey, I would agree. Something tells me he won't, but it was quite funny. It was very, very funny. And of course, hey, speaking of Jiffy Lube, stop in right now and you can get yourself a full Pennzoil synthetic oil change. And when you do, you'll get a $20 digital gift card to be used at any one of 30 local retailers. Support local. That's jiffylubeservice.ca. We'll return and wrap things up in a busy Thursday edition of the Gregor Show.
For a limited time at McDonald's, enjoy the tasty breakfast trio. Your choice of sausage or chicken McMuffin or McGriddles with a hash brown and a small premium roast coffee for $5 plus tax. Available before 11 a.m. at participating McDonald's restaurants in Canada.
Every Wendy's meal could use something a little crispy, dippy, and made with 100% all-white seasoned chicken. So next time, add a 6-piece of crispy chicken nuggets to your Wendy's order for just $3.49. You won't regret it. Taxes extra. Price and participation may vary.
Our cars are our lifeline, and every now and then we need to take care of them too. Cochran's Automotive services your vehicle with pride. When you need to fix it up, bring the whole family fleet. Junior's WRX, Mom's MPV, Dad's 1500, or even Grandpa's old 88. All makes and models are welcome. Trust Cochran's Automotive to professionally repair your family's pride and joy. They've got you covered for Volkswagen diesel timing belts too. Call 780-452-5001.
At jackpotcity.net, you can do amazing things with just one casino chip. Discover a world of incredible casino games with over 500 high-quality online slot games, including the world-renowned progressive jackpot slot Mega Moolah. Play for free at jackpotcity.net and get treated as a VIP 24/7. So visit jackpotcity.net today on your tablet, laptop, or mobile. Jackpot City, a whole world of casino games. 18 plus, please play responsibly. This is not a gambling website.
When Ottawa's proposed electricity regulations make electricity unaffordable, you may have to make some hard choices.
Winter boots for my kids.
Groceries for my family.
Our mortgage. My rent.
Braces.
A rainy day fund.
Visit tellthefeds.ca to learn why your power bill could be 4 times higher than today. And tell the feds, affordable and reliable electricity matters. A message from the Government of Alberta.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Leading Edge Physio, professional athletes use aquatic therapy, radial shockwave, zero gravity treadmills, and pneumatic recovery devices for rehab. Leading Edge Physiotherapy offers those to you because sports shouldn't hurt. LeadingEdgePhysio.com.
Sports Radio is back. The Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
All right. Rolling through Thursday afternoon. Welcome back to the E-Well studio for the Jason Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca. And it's time to go a little racing, brought to you by Cantork. They've continued developing tools and are excited to announce their newest design, battery-powered nut runners. 4 models from 500 to 3,000 foot-pounds with more on the way. Go to cantork.com. Colin Livingston joins us, getting in quickly. Of course, arriving back out of town, so not in studio today, but that's totally all right. CL, how you doing? Hope the flight was good and everything was great. I want to get to F1. When you look, the past 2 races, Sergio Perez. I don't know if he's trying to show that his owner was correct in his idiot comments, but he's taken out 3 different cars when the percentages of him passing were very low for success. What do you make of it?
Yeah, I don't know what is going through. I mean, obviously, he's under fire at Red Bull. There's a lot of pressure for him to perform. I mean, they've got the Constructors' Championship. Max has the drivers' championship locked up now, but there's a lot of focus to when his contract ends. And, he knows that he's in the best car right now. He needs to be finishing second. Kind of worst case scenario should be finishing on the podium. And he's having issues not getting out of getting into Q3. He's having, all kinds of trouble on track. And then, that's manifesting itself in him driving very desperately, where he's making these just absolutely ludicrous last second dive bomb, like 0% chance passes. And he's taking cars out, and he's only getting 5-second penalties, which, Alex Albon was one of the guys that got taken out in Japan on the weekend. And he said, realistically, these 5-second penalties aren't doing anything. So, Perez, they have to come in, fix the car. They parked the car for a while. I think he was in the pits for, it was like 40 laps or something like that. So what's the penalty? There's no deterrent. There's no, no ramification for that kind of stuff. And yet you've ended somebody else's race day. So, hopefully the, F1 and the FIA take a look at it and, try and figure out, listen, and that's why they started these, penalty points, is that when you keep doing stuff like this over and over again, you're supposed to miss races and, have some kind of consequence. So hopefully they're able to sort this stuff out.
Yeah, I think it's fair. The 5-second one only matters if you're at the top. Otherwise, it becomes rather pointless for some, for sure. You know what? It was interesting to see Lewis Hamilton and George Russell, going at it, and and that's a tough one for me, Colin, because you know what? It's okay, we're teammates, and they didn't take each other out, and sure, it was close, but that's kind of part of racing. So I don't know where they come out. I get why they're like, hey guys, and I think it was George, are we going to race each other or other people? So I get the frustration, but at the same time, it's kind of good practice, because when you're in a tight situation, you need to know how you can push it and how you can defend. No?
Well, and especially when you're in different parts of the race, it's the accepted practice within a team is they see the telemetry. They know how hard a driver's pushing. Sometimes a driver can see, but they know he's driving at 100%. So it's the team's decision in most cases to say, listen, George, you've got to give this position to Lewis, give this to George. He's got more pace in reserve to let that happen. It just seems like the last couple of races, they've really been, kind of gloves off, like Ferrari did a couple of races ago at Imola, or at those guys were racing there was, papers bit room between those guys. And I think Lewis kind of made a bit of a statement with George, who was trying an overly optimistic pass as they were coming to the big left-hander. And he basically, ran him out of room and then, managed to drive away. But it's interesting to see how these battles happen. I mean, you never want to take your teammate out in any scenario. But it was also it was interesting to me that Lewis also made a comment this week that he thought Valtteri Bottas teammate that he's ever had, because it was the right balance between kind of a number one and a number two driver, instead of where you've got these scenarios where you've got a young buck trying to displace the old man. So it'd be one to watch for, as the season goes on and into next year.
Colin Livingston joins us in the Can Torque Racing Report. And you know what, Colin, it was only maybe just a 1 week off for Red Bull, but they came back and they obviously were dominating, especially Max Verstappen, to see how that went. But I want to go. You were talking about that, the growth for social media for F1 has grown significantly in 2022, but it's dropped a lot in 2023. And I do wonder, it's because it doesn't mean that Max is bad, but I think any sport where you have it almost predetermined who's going to win, your interest drops off. And we're talking There's the amount of interactions and mentions on social media for F1 has dropped from like 6.17 billion down to 2.16, right? Like it's significant how much lower it is, like a third. So what do you do if you're F1? If you've got one team that's so much better, what do you do? Do you put rules in place, or do you just say this is a one-off and next year it'll bounce back?
No, I mean, this has been part of F1 as long as the sport's been around, is that when you introduce a new set of rules, one team seems to figure it out better than the others, and they have their run. I mean, Mercedes did it in the turbo hybrid era, winning, 8 constructors championships. You've had Ferrari with their era. Before this, Red Bull with Sebastian Vettel won, 4 in a row. This happens, and this is part of the sport where one team gets that little bit and they get that domination. I think that's only a part of what's going on. My personal opinion is that this is kind of the after effect of the Drive to Survive effect, where so many people got so excited about the sport, and once they started watching it, it wasn't nearly as exciting as it gets portrayed in that highly produced series, where there's, they really stage the drama. They really kind of manipulate what's going on behind the scenes. And that doesn't really manifest itself when you see an actual race. So the people who are really, really excited, going back to last year and the year before, I think they're starting to drop off. And the problem is when you have all this hype, if you don't have the product on track to back it up, you're not going to get anywhere. So, I mean, I think they really need to, really focus on fan experience and try and throw a few more nuggets of excitement out there. Whether it's more behind the scenes stuff or going back to sharing some of that team audio that gives you an insight as to what's going on, instead of just, watching these cars go round and round.
And last one, how did you guys finish the season in Pinty's?
Oh, if it weren't for bad luck, we'd have no luck at all. I mean, we weren't really good in the first part of the race, although the car was solid. We were running as high as fifth. We're definitely decent in the top 10. Came in for a pit stop at the halfway point. Once we did, all of a sudden, Alex was just, he couldn't figure the car out. He's like, guys, I think I've got an engine letting go. It seemed like the engine was misfiring or backfiring, and we thought we were losing the piece, and it turns out we lost the alternator. So the battery started to run dead, which meant that the engine wasn't really firing, which meant everything else started to fall apart. But we came in, made a pit stop. Unfortunately, NASCAR kind of hosed us because there was a caution. We came in we wanted to come in under the caution, but NASCAR never opened pit road. And, we were talking, amongst ourselves, like, why aren't we coming in? Like, let's come in. Our crew chief, Kerry, made the right call, saying, listen, we can't see all of pit road. If we come in and there's a safety issue, that could be catastrophic. So we had to wait. We only got two caution laps, which we needed 8 laps to change the battery. We put a fresh battery in and just prayed that the thing would get us to the end. But once we got that going, all of a sudden, like, Alex is on the radio, and I can't repeat exactly what he said, but he was very exuberant about how good the car was. And it's a shame, because had we not lost those laps, we would have had something. But, congratulations to, our young teammate, Trayton Lapsevich. Not only claimed the championship, he did it in commanding style by winning the race as well. So we're going to have to, take a look at what that team did and try and emulate it a little bit in 2024.
All right, Colin, we're on the clock, buddy. Thanks, man. We appreciate it. We'll chat with you in studio, hopefully next Thursday. That's Colin Livingston in the Race Report, brought to you by Cantork. Let's get to the Con Man and a Sports 1440 update.
This is a Sports 1440 update.
Week 4 in the NFL kicking off tonight as the Packers head to or host the Lions. Down gets going at 6:15. Join Brandon Douglas at the Lewis Estates Canadian Brewhouse. Major League Baseball today. Jays currently leading Dalton Varsho with a homer on top of the Yankees 1-0 in the third. Elsewhere, Orioles lead the Red Sox 1-0. Pirates on top of the Phillies 3-1, and the Braves 3-1 lead over the Cubs in the second later tonight. Rangers take on the Mariners and the Dodgers in Colorado. That's going to do it for us today. I'm Connor Halley. This has been a Sports 1440 update.